Chapter 1. I've transmigrated. In an antique room, Ning Tian was lying on a soft bed filled with a woman's fragrance. His face was full of shock. A woman's clothes lay quietly on the soft bed. The faint fragrance made Ning Tian feel a little strange. That's not right. What's going on? Ning Tian swallowed. A woman's room, a soft bed, a woman's clothes, and Ning Tian, who was lying on the bed, feeling pain all over his body. F***ck. Don't tell me I've been? Ning Tian's mouth twitched. He thought of something ridiculous. That was the only result he could get from lying here. He gritted his teeth as if he was trying to recall something. However, he had no recollection of what had happened. I'm a good man from Earth. After transmigrating, I've actually done that? Could it be an ugly woman? Perhaps she was also an extremely beautiful woman? Anyway, it was a big loss. Ning Tian sighed and wanted to get up from the bed. However, at that moment, a huge wave of memories, accompanied by intense pain, entered his mind. After a long while, he finally figured out what was going on. He had transmigrated to a world called Tianxian Continent. There was a complete cultivation system here. Powerful cultivators could move mountains and seas, fly in the sky, and burrow into the ground. There was nothing they couldn't do. His current location was the Tianma cult of Dongxing country in the Tianling realm. Wait a minute. Suddenly, Ning Tian found something that shocked him while he was sorting out his memories. I'm a good-for-nothing? Ning Tian was dumbfounded. His current identity was actually a handyman in the Tianma cult. Moreover, he was a good-for-nothing. What the F***c? Ning Tian suddenly had the thought of ending his own life and returning to the furnace to be reborn. In this fantasy world, if he was a piece of trash, wouldn't that be the end of him? Suddenly, a fragment of memory entered his mind again. It gave him a slight idea. Things seemed to be taking a turn for the better. The Empress of the Tianma cult is actually my wife? Today is my wedding ceremony with the Empress? Doesn't that mean that the clothes around here belong to the Empress? Ning Tian's expression became strange. Why would the dignified leader of a sect, who was respectfully called the Empress, marry him tonight? Crack. Just as he was reminiscing, the door was pushed open with a slight creak. Then, a fragrant wind blew, and a graceful figure walked in. A graceful woman in a blue and white dress with a phoenix crown on her head walked over. Her beautiful eyes were like the merciless waters of the Luo River. Her face was absolutely beautiful, so beautiful that it was soul-stirring. Seeing her, Ning Tian's eyes flashed with surprise. The woman who came in was his nominal wife, the leader of the Tianma cult, Luo Wuqing, who was respectfully called the Empress. This woman was prettier than all the women he had seen on Earth. Any female celebrity would have to step aside when they saw her. At this moment, Ning Tian only had one thought. That is, he had struck it rich. You're awake. Luo Wuqing looked up at Ning Tian indifferently on the bed. Her tone was as cold as an ice lotus in a world of ice and snow. Since you're awake, I won't talk nonsense. Without waiting for Ning Tian to speak, Luo Wuqing continued, our marriage is just a fake one. Don't think that it's real. At most, we're husband and wife in name, so you can't have any improper thoughts about me. If you have any thoughts, I can see through them at any time. When the time comes, don't blame me for being ruthless. Ning Tian frowned when she heard that. She was very displeased. He was already miserable enough. Who would have thought that the wife given to him for free was actually a fake marriage? Wouldn't that mean that he could only look at her and not touch her? Ding. At this moment, a mechanical voice sounded in Ning Tian's mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for activating the shock system. Huh. System? Ning Tian, who was still unhappy, couldn't help but be stunned on the spot. Then, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. As a transmigrator, he naturally understood what the system was. It was the best thing that could help him turn over a salted fish. With the system, would he still be afraid of being a good-for-nothing? However, what was the use of the system? Apart from that prompt, there seemed to be nothing else. Just as Ning Tian was studying the system, Luo Wuqing had already noticed his expression, which alternated between joy and sadness. She frowned. What was this guy doing? Are you listening to me? Luo Wuqing spoke. Her tone was cold and filled with absolute dignity. Hearing the voice beside his ear, Ning Tian, who was still studying the destiny of the system, frowned and instinctively shouted coldly, "Shut up! I'm busy." Huh. Luo Wuqing was stunned. A trace of astonishment flashed across her beautiful eyes. Who was she? She was a dignified god emperor-level expert, the sect leader of the Tianma cult, and known as an empress. Who dared to be so rude to her? And what was Ning Tian's identity? He was just a good-for-nothing Tianma cult handyman. However, as an empress, she had actually been scolded by Ning Tian. At this moment, Luo Wuqing couldn't help but reveal a trace of astonishment. Was this guy not afraid of death? When Ning Tian finished speaking, he regretted it. He was still a good-for-nothing with zero combat power. Luo Wuqing could crush him with a raise of her hand. Was he too impulsive? At this moment, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Congratulations to the host for completing the first shock. You are rewarded with an aura suppression skill. Aura suppression. Suppress the opponent. Unable to use any spiritual energy for 3 hours. Huh. A shock reward? Could it be because I just scolded Luo Wuqing? Ning Tian stared blankly for a moment, then quickly reacted. His eyes lit up. So this was how the system was used. Reaching a certain level of shock would give him a certain reward. What did you just say? Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes fell on Ning Tian. Her eyes revealed a trace of coldness. If it were the previous Ning Tian, he would definitely shrink back. However, now that he understood the system's function, he seemed to know what to do. He clenched his teeth and mustered up his courage. So what if she was an empress? At worst, he would stake it all and turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. What? I'm your husband. Do you have a problem with me talking to you like this? Ning Tian looked indifferently at Luo Wuqing. At this moment, he was pretending. Huh. A trace of astonishment flashed through Luo Wuqing's eyes again. How did this guy suddenly have the guts? At this moment, a voice sounded in Ning Tian's mind. Congratulations to the host for completing a normal shock. Reward, qi and blood pill. Adjust the meridians and repair the physique. After tasting the sweetness, Ning Tian was even more insatiable. He stood up and walked to Luo Wuqing's side. He pulled her soft, jade-like hand and led her to sit on the edge of the bed. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up slightly. He smiled and looked at Luo Wuqing. Say, since we're already husband and wife, shouldn't we do some things that a husband and wife should do? What? Luo Wuqing originally wanted to see what Ning Tian wanted to do. However, when she heard this sentence, a trace of deep shock flashed through her beautiful eyes. Then, she flew into a rage. This guy, isn't he too insatiable? Congratulations to the host for completing a mid-grade shock. The qi and blood pill has been automatically swallowed. The meridians in the body are being repaired. The divine level physique has been awakened. Current absorption of spiritual energy per second is 10 times. Comprehension of martial arts increased by 10 times. Cultivation technique cultivation speed increased by 10 times. At this moment, Ning Tian sensed that his originally weak body was filled with energy at this moment. An endless stream of spiritual energy was flowing into his body. Are you courting death? At this moment, a cold voice rang in his ears. The voice was filled with a trace of murderous intent. Ning Tian was stunned and subconsciously turned his head. He saw that Luo Wuqing was staring at him. A trace of murderous intent flowed from her beautiful eyes. A powerful aura of a god emperor instantly enveloped Ning Tian. Sensing that his body couldn't move, Ning Tian's expression changed drastically. It's over. I've gone too far this time. The two of them were now in an extremely strange position. Ning Tian was firmly pressed on the bed, and Luo Wuqing's ice-cold hand was placed on his chest, firmly pressing him down. Feeling the soft, jade-like hand, Ning Tian couldn't enjoy it at all. Tell me, how do you want to die? Luo Wuqing said indifferently. Was she really going to kill him? Ning Tian gritted his teeth. No matter whether Luo Wuqing really wanted to kill him or not, he had to retaliate now. He muttered in his heart, activate the aura suppression. Boom. Then, a black aura appeared from his body. Instantly, the aura enveloped Luo Wuqing and suppressed her. At this moment, the spiritual energy in her body dissipated without a trace. Her body went limp and fell towards Ning Tian. What? Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes flashed a trace of astonishment. Where was her emperor-level strength? Ning Tian pulled Luo Wu into his arms. Feeling the softness in his arms, he gritted his teeth and a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. In for a penny, in for a pound. If he retreated now, he would definitely die when the suppression of the aura ended. He might as well give it his all. Since I've already done it yesterday, let's do it again today. Today, I'll teach you, the Empress, what it means to say that no matter how big the world is, your husband is the most important. Ning Tian gritted his teeth. Under Luo Wuqing's astonished gaze, he took the first step in his life. Chapter 2. 3 hours later, the room was a little messy, and Ning Tian's mind was blank. He seemed to have misunderstood something. He didn't do anything last night because he had just realized that Luo Wuqing was still a virgin. He had misunderstood. Rustling sounds came from beside him. Luo Wuqing's face was still cold. She had put on her blue and white dress again and put on the phoenix coronet. She looked at Ning Tian indifferently as if nothing had happened. Her face was cold and emotionless. Remember, come to the demonic palace in the evening. We will hold the wedding ceremony as usual. After saying that, she turned and left, leaving Ning Tian with only a graceful figure. What does she mean by that? Ning Tian laughed bitterly. He inadvertently glanced at the red glow on the bed and couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. He had accidentally taken her virginity because of a misunderstanding. Did he get a wife for free? At this moment, the system's voice sounded. Congratulations to the host for shocking the world. You are rewarded with 10 years of cultivation. Then, a steady stream of spiritual energy erupted from Ning Tian's body. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to level 1 martial artist. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to level 2 martial artist. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to level 3 martial artist. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to level 9 martial artist. Congratulations to the host for breaking through. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to level 1 mystic martial master. In the blink of an eye, Ning Tian's strength had reached level 1 martial master. Some people couldn't reach this level even after decades. However, at this moment, he had achieved it in an instant. The strength of the Tianxian continent could be roughly divided into martial artist, mystic martial master, spirit detecting realm, earth king realm, holy emperor realm, heavenly venerable realm, god the arch realm, demigod realm, and ancestor god realm. And Ning Tian's cheap wife was actually at the god the arch realm. Oh my god. Ning Tian pursed his lips and deeply felt the gap between him and Luo Wuqing. However, he wasn't discouraged at all. Instead, he licked his lips excitedly. Then didn't he just do it with a peerless god emperor expert? It had to be said that the system's reward was really shocking. The suppression of aura was really strong. It could even suppress a god emperor. Looks like I have to cultivate seriously. I, Ning Tian, am not the kind of person who likes to live off a woman. Ning Tian clenched his fist. If his strength was lower than Luo Wuqing's, how could he tell his empress wife that her husband was the most important principal in the world? Then, he sat down cross-legged. He sensed the endless spiritual energy of the great 1,000 realms entering his body. Outside the room, Luo Wuqing paused for a moment, watching Ning Tian in the room begin to cultivate. Her face was expressionless, but her heart was filled with mixed feelings. When she recovered her spiritual energy, she almost used her spiritual energy to kill this lecher. But in the end, she held herself back. For the sake of the big picture, she could only endure. After Luo Wuqing took a deep look at the room, she turned around and left. She walked all the way to the back mountain of the Tianma cult. Along the way, many Tianma cult disciples saw her. They all looked at her in awe and bowed to express their respect for Luo Wuqing. It was not until Luo Wuqing entered the forbidden area of the back mountain that they dared to straighten their backs and look in the direction that Luo Wuqing left. At this moment, the sound of discussion spread. Have you heard? The Empress is going to marry a good-for-nothing disciple in our sect. Are you talking about Ning Tian? A good-for-nothing who has been in the sect for 3 years, but is still a first-level martial artist. I really don't understand. He's just a good-for-nothing. Why would the Empress like him? Other than being a little handsome, this guy has nothing good about him. The sound of discussion was endless. Many male disciples hated and envied Ning Tian. This was the Empress. Not only was she strong, but she was also extremely beautiful. To have such a wife, they were willing to sacrifice their lives. But at the same time, they were also puzzled. Why would the Empress marry a good-for-nothing? In the depths of the back mountain, this was the forbidden area of the Tianma cult. Luo Wuqing walked to a closed stone door. With a wave of her hand, the stone door opened and welcomed her in. As soon as she stepped in, the originally pitch-black space was brightly lit. On the walls on both sides, balls of green fire appeared. She walked in and saw a huge stone statue in front of her. Luo Wuqing walked to the stone statue and said indifferently, "I'm going to marry someone with the divine physique. Shouldn't you give me the heavenly demon book?" A black light seemed to flash on the stone statue, but there was no response. Seeing this, Luo Wuqing frowned. According to legend, the Tianma cult had a supreme treasure book called the Heavenly Demon Book. It was rumored that cultivating it would give one a guide to becoming a god. If a divine emperor wanted to break through to the divine realm, one thing was necessary, and that was a guide to becoming a god. But to obtain the Heavenly Demon Book, there was a very strange rule. The current leader of the Tianma cult had to marry someone with the divine physique to obtain the Heavenly Demon Book, and she had searched for 3 whole years, only to find out a few days ago that the person with the divine physique was actually in her Tianma cult. However, he was a good-for-nothing who was always a first-level martial artist, no matter how hard he cultivated. Although he was a good-for-nothing, she still resolutely chose to marry him for the sake of the big picture. In half a year, the 5 sovereigns, 3 venerables, and 2 emperors will invade. If I can't break through to the divine realm, how can I resist? Could it be that we, the heavenly demons, will be destroyed in the end? Luo Wuqing murmured in a low voice, but there was a trace of worry in his calm voice. I hope he can really bring the Heavenly Demon Book. Otherwise, I can only kill the person who desecrated my body. At this moment, dusk, there was only half an hour left until the Empress wedding ceremony. The entire Tianma cult was extremely busy. Many forces in Dongxing and the Tianling realm had come to congratulate the Empress. But more than that, they wanted to see what kind of god the good-for-nothing who could marry the Empress was. In the room, Ning Tian sat cross-legged on the bed. Dense spiritual energy circulated around his body. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Ding! The system's voice rang out. Congratulations, host, for breaking through to become a 6-star black martial master. With 10 times the spiritual energy absorption, he had broken through 5 minor levels in just a few hours. If others knew about this, they would be so shocked that their eyeballs would pop out. Ning Tian opened his eyes and did not rush to get up. Instead, he checked his personal status panel. Host, Ning Tian, Strength, 6-star Black Martial Master, Constitution, Heavenly God Constitution, Cultivation Method, None, Martial Arts Technique, None, Cultivation Method, 10 times Cultivation, Martial Arts Comprehension, 10 times Comprehension, Spiritual Energy Absorption, 10 times Absorption. Looking at his status panel, Ning Tian discovered something he had never noticed before. That was the Heavenly God Constitution. System. What is this Heavenly God Constitution? Ning Tian asked. System. Ning Tian. Well, it seemed like the system did not want to answer. Ning Tian shook his head and got up. It was almost time. As one of the main characters of the wedding ceremony, he could not be late, right? Ning Tian took off his shabby disciple uniform and put on the clothes that Luo Wuqing had prepared for him. Satisfied, he walked toward the main hall of the Tianma cult. Chapter 3. Heavenly Demon Palace. The entire palace was decorated with lanterns and banners. Many guests were walking around with smiles on their faces. In one corner of the palace, A handsome young man dressed in luxurious clothes was tasting the wine in his cup. However, as the wine entered his throat, he frowned and looked bitter. He looked at the red word happiness in the palace absent-mindedly. It was as if he had just fallen out of love. "Isn't this Prince Xiaoyao?" At this moment, a voice was heard. A burly man walked over with a cup of wine. "Oh, it's the sect leader of the wild beast sect." Lin Xiaoyao turned around. When he saw who it was, he forced a smile. He swirled the wine in his cup and greeted the sect leader of the wild beast sect. "I didn't expect you to be here too." The sect leader of the wild beast sect could not help but laugh. "Prince Xiaoyao, your words are a little rude. Which force in Dongxing country dares not to attend the wedding of the empress?" You're right." Lin Xiaoyao nodded. The sect leader of the wild beast sect raised his head and gulped down the wine. He looked at the dejected Lin Xiaoyao and sighed. "I heard that the empress is getting married to a piece of trash from the heavenly demon sect. What a pity." On the side, Lin Xiaoyao subconsciously clenched the wine glass and just smiled. The wild beast sect lord's eyes flashed with a profound light. He glanced at Lin Xiaoyao, implying something. "I heard that Prince Xiaoyao has been secretly admiring the empress for a long time. In my eyes, only you, the third prince of Dongxing country, are worthy of the empress. How can you tolerate a piece of trash? If I were you, I wouldn't let it go so easily." Hearing this, Lin Xiaoyao felt as if the pain in his heart had been exposed. His expression changed and he forced a smile. "How can I interfere with the empress's affairs?" Lin Xiaoyao shook his head. He looked lonely and did not say anything else. He turned around and walked towards the other parts of the palace. The corner of the wild beast sect's sect leader's lips curled into a faint sneer as he watched Yi Futian's back. As time passed, more and more guests gathered in the main hall. There were sect masters, emperors of kingdoms, saintesses, and divine children. All of them were here to attend the empress's wedding ceremony. The auspicious hour had arrived. An old man in a red robe slowly walked into the main hall. He was the master of ceremonies for the wedding ceremony. "Guests, please be quiet." The master of ceremonies coughed dryly and waved his hand, indicating for everyone in the hall to be quiet. For a moment, the hall fell into silence. Whether it was the sect master, the emperor, the godsons, or the saintesses, they all maintained absolute silence, because they knew that the empress was coming. From now on, the 8th generation leader of the Tianma cult, Empress Luo Wuqing, will be getting married in the main hall. Please maintain absolute silence. Now, let's welcome the empress. As the master of ceremonies finished speaking, the aura of a great emperor suddenly descended in the hall. Countless experts' faces changed drastically, and their bodies were suppressed to the point that they couldn't move. Was this the might of a god emperor? Boom. The main hall's door was pushed open by the aura, and Luo Wuqing, dressed in red, walked in from outside the hall. Her steps were light, and her beautiful face was expressionless. With every step she took, a suppressive aura spread out. In the main hall, a group of people looked at Luo Wuqing in awe, and their hearts were filled with a touch of fanaticism. Lin Xiaoyao looked at Luo Wuqing, and his heart instantly became restless. He clenched his fists, and his heart was filled with unwillingness. Seeing Luo Wuqing's powerful strength and beautiful face, the experts from all over the world in the main hall were even more confused. Why would the empress marry a piece of trash? A mere piece of trash? How could the empress take a fancy to him? Was he worthy? For a moment, in the main hall, the godsons gritted their teeth. The heavens' prides were unwilling, and the princes were furious. Could it be that they were inferior to a piece of trash? Luo Wuqing quickly walked to the top of the main hall and stood there calmly, as if the people below were not guests, but a group of ants. Cough, cough. Since the empress has arrived, let us invite the person who is going to marry the empress, Ning Tian, to come to the stage. As soon as the voice fell, the hearts of the experts in the main hall suddenly rose. Their eyes flashed, and their hearts were filled with anticipation. What kind of person was that piece of trash who was going to marry the empress? In the main hall, there was silence. After a few minutes, Ning Tian still did not appear. Cough, cough. Let us invite Ning Tian to the stage. The old MC coughed awkwardly and said again. Outside the main hall, there was still no movement. Next, the old MC shouted many times, and another 10 minutes passed, but Ning Tian still did not appear in front of the crowd. The group of experts had strange expressions. This piece of trash actually did not appear in the main hall of the Empress's wedding? Could it be that he felt that he was not worthy of the Empress, so he ran away? But wasn't this action undoubtedly a slap to the Empress's face? Only Lin Xiaoyao's heart, which was originally dead, was suddenly ignited again. If that piece of trash ran away, wouldn't that mean that he had a chance? Just as everyone in the main hall had strange expressions, a series of rapid footsteps and panting sounds came from outside the main hall. They saw a handsome young man walk in from outside the main hall. This person was Ning Tian. He did not want to be late, but who would have thought that Luo Wuqing's residence was actually 10,000 meters away from the demonic palace? He used the strength of a black martial master and ran for 10 minutes before he arrived. When Ning Tian walked into the main hall, he realized that many people were looking at him strangely, and he could not help but scratch his head. It's my first wedding, and I'm late. Don't blame me, don't blame me. Hearing this, the group of experts in the main hall had strange expressions, and they were about to go crazy. It's your first wedding? You're late? You're getting married to the Empress. As the main character of the wedding, how dare you be late for the Empress's wedding? You really don't know what's good for you. How dare you make the Empress wait for more than 10 minutes? Can you afford to delay? Seeing Ning Tian, Lin Xiaoyao's jealousy was ignited. Isn't this young man just a little more handsome than me? But I can definitely crush him in terms of strength. What makes him worthy of the Empress? Hearing the voice, Ning Tian looked over and furrowed his brows slightly. This guy really pissed him off. What does it have to do with you that I'm late for my wedding? Don't worry, no matter how much time you delay, it won't affect my wedding night with the Empress. What? He wants to have a wedding night with the Empress? At this moment, the group of experts in the main hall was shocked. It was rumored that the Empress did not like men. Ding. While the group of experts was shocked, the system's voice rang in Ning Tian's mind. You've shocked the third prince of Dongxing country. You've shocked the sect leader of Beast Sect. You've shocked the saintess of Heaven Lake. You've shocked the emperor of Desya Empire. You've shocked the son of God of Light Sacred Ground. Congratulations to the host for shocking 4 people. You've received the Earth-class martial art, Heavenly Demon Palm. Comprehending martial art at 10 times the speed. Heavenly Demon Palm successfully comprehended. While Ning Tian was checking the martial art in his mind, Luo Wuqing frowned slightly. After checking, Ning Tian looked at Lin Xiaoyao and said, Moreover, my wife is fine with it. Why are you, an outsider, so anxious? Speaking of this, Ning Tian looked at Luo Wuqing and winked at her. He smiled and said, Right, wife? Luo Wuqing's expression did not change at all. She just nodded her head slightly. Seeing this, the expressions of the surrounding experts changed. Lin Xiaoyao's face turned as black as charcoal. He gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, Young man, I want to challenge you. Do you dare to accept? Chapter 4. Hearing Lin Xiaoyao's words, many of the experts in the hall had strange expressions on their faces. Lin Xiaoyao was an Earth King realm expert, and Ning Tian in front of them was a real piece of trash. In the hall, even Luo Wuqing's brows were slightly furrowed at this moment. Isn't this guy a bit too much? Challenge? Hearing Lin Xiaoyao's words, Ning Tian raised his eyebrows, thought for a moment, and made a plan. He could use this guy to shock the experts around him. Ning Tian's lips curled into a bright smile, looking very handsome. Many of the saints and princesses around him were attracted to him, and their hearts were filled with infatuation. Although this guy was a piece of trash, he was still quite handsome. But Ning Tian's next words made the experts in the hall change their expressions slightly. Ning Tian's face lit up with a bright smile. Challenge? Then, I accept your challenge. He actually accepted? He really doesn't know what's good for him. Who doesn't know that he's an Earth King realm expert? Even in the imperial family of Dongxing, he's considered a genius. In the hall, a group of guests rejoiced in the misfortune of others, ready to watch a good show. Sigh. This guy's temperament is unstable, too stupid and too naive. Could it be that he doesn't know that he's not the only one losing face by doing this? Our Tianma cult is the face of the Empress. Seeing Ning Tian agree so readily, some of the elders of the Tianma cult sighed again and again. Ning Tian was now Luo Wuqing's fiancé, representing the Tianma cult. If he was defeated by Li Xiaoyao in 2 or 3 moves, wouldn't it be a disgrace to the Tianma cult and the Empress? Thinking that the prestige that the Tianma cult had built up over the years would be lost to such a piece of trash, the elders almost vomited blood in anger. They couldn't understand why the Empress wanted to marry such a good-for-nothing. Luo Wuqing frowned slightly as her beautiful eyes fell on Ning Tian. However, in the blink of an eye, she saw Ning Tian smiling at her. She didn't know why, but she felt that the discontent in her heart had calmed down. What? You agreed? Lin Xiaoyao stared at Ning Tian in disbelief. He had only said it casually. He never thought that Ning Tian would really agree. Yes, what else can I do? Ning Tian still had a smile on his face. Ha ha ha. Lin Xiaoyao laughed maniacally as he looked at Ning Tian with a mocking gaze. To be honest, I was really worried that you wouldn't agree. However, I still have to ask the Great Empress about this matter. After saying that, the sarcasm on his face disappeared without a trace and was replaced with a smile that he thought was very handsome. What does the Great Empress think? Luo Wuqing sat on the high seat and nodded slightly. At this time, her beautiful face was covered by a red veil, so no one could see her expression. Lin Xiaoyao was overjoyed. It seemed like the Empress was clearly giving him this opportunity. The surrounding people were shocked. The Empress actually agreed? Ning Tian, don't say that I'm bullying a good-for-nothing like you. I'll seal half of my strength and only leave my strength as a black martial master to fight with you. Lin Xiaoyao smiled faintly. He thought that if he used all his strength to fight with a good-for-nothing, he would definitely leave a flaw that didn't suit his status as the third prince. Therefore, he sealed half of his strength. However, even if he only had the strength of a black martial master, he had absolute confidence that he could defeat Ning Tian. As expected of the third prince of Dongxing country, so generous. What a pity. Even if he seals half of his strength, Ning Tian won't be a match for the third prince. In the main hall, many forces sighed. One was praising, and one was criticizing. They had long criticized Ning Tian in their hearts. However, they only thought about it and didn't dare to say it out loud. After all, they still had to give face to the Empress. Seal half of your strength? You want to fight me as a black martial master? Hearing Lin Xiaoyao's words, Ning Tian was first stunned, then his lips curled into a smile. This guy, was he really worried that he couldn't kill him? Come on, Ning Tian. Let me see what makes you worthy of the Great Empress. Lin Xiaoyao sneered and walked to the center of the main hall. The two of them looked at each other. One was angry, the other was smiling nonchalantly. How could he still smile at this time? Seeing that Ning Tian didn't care about him at all, Lin Xiaoyao was furious. The saints and goddesses around him, as well as many other forces, were also stunned. Was the Great Empress going to marry a fool? Before they came, they had done a lot of research on Ning Tian. They knew that he was a handyman in the Tianma cult. He had been in the sect for 3 years, but his strength hadn't improved at all. He was still a LV1 martial artist. Mocking laughter was heard at this moment. How could a LV1 martial artist fight a black martial master? Ning Tian hooked his finger at Lin Xiaoyao. Why aren't you making a move? So what if I let you make the first move? Lin Xiaoyao smiled disdainfully. He felt that he could defeat a good-for-nothing with a flick of his finger. All right, let me make the first move. A smile appeared on Ning Tian's face. He would never reject such a good deal. Under the gaze of everyone in the hall, Ning Tian raised his hand indifferently and assumed a fighting stance. You're not standing steadily, you have no spiritual energy, and your breath is unstable. It seems that your combat experience is pitifully little. Lin Xiaoyao was like a grandmaster, pointing out Ning Tian's fighting stance. Hearing this, Ning Tian smiled and struck out with his palm. He laughed heartily. Although the palm technique is unorganized, it's enough to destroy you. Lin Xiaoyao glanced at the palm wind indifferently, not at all interested. It's simple and unadorned. There's no palm technique to speak of. I think you're still. Before he could finish speaking, Lin Xiaoyao's expression suddenly changed. The palm wind changed in the air. Demonic chi soared into the sky and formed an astonishing giant palm. The palm wind whistled and its power was shocking. What? Lin Xiaoyao's expression changed, and shock flashed in his eyes. He actually felt a strong sense of horror from this palm. At this moment, he actually wanted to release the seal on his body to block this move. However, his body was suddenly pressed down, and his seal was not released. Bang! The black palm of demonic chi bombarded his body. Bang! In the next moment, Lin Xiaoyao spat out a mouthful of blood. His body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. He flew backward and crashed heavily on a stone pillar in the hall. What? Isn't this the Tianma cult's extremely difficult earth-rank martial art, the Sky Demon Palm? Isn't he a good-for-nothing? Why does he know the Sky Demon Palm? He defeated the third prince with one palm. Did I misjudge him? At this moment, the faces of the leaders of the various forces changed drastically. A deep sense of horror flashed in their eyes, and their hearts were in turmoil. Ning Tian's palm shocked everyone. Chapter 5. Ning Tian's palm landed, but what he got in return was silence. The Tianma cult elders in the main hall widened their eyes as they watched the black light slowly dissipate from Ning Tian's hand. Sky Demon Palm. This was a powerful Earth-class martial art that even they had yet to learn. In the entire Tianma cult, only two people knew this move. One was the Grand Elder, and the other was the sect leader of the Tianma cult, Empress Luo Wuqing. The group of elders looked at the Grand Elder on the high seat. An inquiring gaze fell on him. First Elder, could it be that you were ordered by the Empress to teach Ning Tian the earth-ranked martial art, the demonic palm? The Grand Elder shook his head and sighed bitterly. How could it be me? Besides, how difficult is the Sky Demon Palm to cultivate? Otherwise, how could you not learn it after cultivating for more than 10 years? Hearing this, the group of elders flushed red with shame. The Sky Demon Palm was one of the top martial arts in the Tianma cult. Unfortunately, it was extremely difficult to master. It was so difficult that only 2 people in the entire Tianma cult had learned it. It was almost equivalent to a lost art. But now, they actually saw the Sky Demon Palm in the hands of a useless disciple. Most importantly, he was using it so skillfully. Luo Wuqing's gaze fell on Ning Tian through the red veil. This guy always seemed to bring her different surprises. Ift! Lin Xiaoyao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and struggled to get up from the ground. Just now, when he wanted to use his Earth King's strength to block this move, he felt an emperor's aura descend. He knew it was the empress's pressure, but what really defeated him was Ning Tian's palm. At this moment, Ning Tian's mouth was full of smiles. In his mind, the system's voice kept echoing. You shocked the Tianma cult elders. Completed a series of shocks. You shocked the palace master of the heavenly palace. Completed a series of shocks. You shocked the Heaven Vault Holy Land Saint. Completed 3 consecutive shocks. You have shocked the 5 divine masters of the transcendent divine land. You have completed 4 consecutive shocks. You have shocked Empress Luo Wuqing. Complete 5 consecutive shocks. Shocking everyone. Complete team wipe. Host has achieved a shocking achievement and shocked everyone. You are rewarded with the divine charm constitution. At this moment, Ning Tian's aura began to shimmer. It was as if silver light was sprinkling down from his body. His entire aura changed, and his handsome face became even more angular. Many people around were stunned. Why did this guy give people a different feeling? So handsome, holy daughters from holy lands, princesses from kingdoms, and fairies from the heavenly lake all looked at Ning Tian, and when their eyes landed on Ning Tian's face, they were instantly attracted to him. Their faces flushed, and their hearts began to race. Some of the saints and princes started to gnash their teeth in anger. At first, they'd felt that Ning Tian wasn't worthy, but now, they were actually starting to feel a little jealous of Ning Tian. Why was this kid so handsome? F***CK. System. What did you do? Feeling the gazes around him, Ning Tian was taken aback, especially when he saw those holy daughters, princesses, and fairies looking at him with eyes as intoxicated as peach blossoms. He immediately broke out in cold sweat. Come on, this was his wedding ceremony. Why were they looking at him with such ambiguous eyes? Wasn't it a bad influence? Luo Wuqing was still watching from above. System. The divine charm constitution increases unlimited charm, allowing the host to pass through a field of flowers without a single leaf touching him. Ning Tian. He was almost going crazy inside. Was he having an affair in the middle of his wedding ceremony? Even Luo Wuqing's eyes were slightly dazed when she looked at Ning Tian, but it was only for a moment. Her Tao heart was very stable and almost indestructible. You, aren't you the rumored good-for-nothing? Lin Xiaoyao didn't dare to look at Ning Tian directly. For some reason, he felt that looking at Ning Tian directly would make him feel inferior. Chapter 6. Trash. Ning Tian smiled faintly. Everyone in the grand hall tensed up, waiting to see how he would answer. However, the next sentence caused the group of people in the hall to have strange expressions on their faces. I am trash. Did he just self-destruct? The group of powerhouses and Tianma cult elders were stunned. Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile, and he said lightly, if you can't reach the top in one step, how dare you call yourself a genius? Wow. The grand hall fell into dead silence as soon as he said that. If you can't reach the top in one step, how dare you call yourself a genius? Many saints and princes muttered to themselves, but their expressions were extremely ugly. They called themselves geniuses, but they couldn't reach the top in one step. Ning Tian's words were undoubtedly a slap to the faces of all the saints and princes present. Since they couldn't reach the top in one step, they didn't deserve to call themselves geniuses. They were all the same, just like trash. Crunch, crunch. Many saints and princes gritted their teeth as they glared furiously at Ning Tian, who was all smiles. They were so angry. They couldn't beat Ning Tian in the first place. They could only say that he was trash. But now, damn it, they, the saints and princes, had become trash too. What? What a ruthless method. The Grand Elder of Tianma cult was stunned for a moment, but he immediately reacted. A glint flashed in his eyes as he looked at the smiling Ning Tian. This guy had slapped all the geniuses in the face with just one sentence. If you can't reach the top in one step, then what right do you have to call yourself a genius? Hiss! The Grand Elder gasped and couldn't help but look at Luo Wuqing on the high seat. He admired the Empress' foresight even more. But, at this moment, Ning Tian's eyes flashed with an easygoing smile. He said slowly, fortunately, I recognize my identity. I'm not as arrogant and self-proclaimed as a genius like all of you. The saints and princes in the grand hall felt as if they had suffered a heavy blow when they heard that. They felt suffocated in their chests. They were aggrieved. It was obvious that he was proud because he was trash. Shameless. He had never seen such a shameless person before. Pooh! A saint spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes flashed with indignation. He was so angered by Ning Tian that he vomited blood. Puff, puff, puff. Then, a few more saints and princes were so angry that they vomited blood. Normally, they would flaunt themselves as geniuses. But now, Ning Tian's words had directly turned them into trash. This caused their Tao hearts to be damaged. They were so angry that they spat out blood. So handsome. He defeated so many saints and princes with just one sentence. Inside the hall, the saintess, the princess, and the others looked at Ning Tian with adoration. They seemed to be completely infatuated with Ning Tian. If it weren't for the Empress, they would have fought over Ning Tian. Ning Tian was already handsome to begin with. Coupled with the influence of his divine charm physique, these princesses and saintesses were completely unable to resist his charm. Genius? Trash? Lin Xiaoyao's heart skipped a beat. At this moment, the pride in his heart was completely shattered by Ning Tian. Ahem! At this time, the Grand Elder coughed a few times. If he allowed Ning Tian to continue speaking, he was afraid that the Tao hearts of these saints and princes would be shattered. Ning Tian, let me ask you, where did you learn the Sky Demon Palm? The Grand Elder's eyes fell on Ning Tian. Countless pairs of eyes fell on Ning Tian. In the entire Tiamat cult, only 2 people knew the Sky Demon Palm. How did Ning Tian learn it? Oh, this? Ning Tian looked indifferent, but his mind was thinking of a way to deal with this. Soon, he came up with a plan. I learned it in the Sutra Depository. Sutra Depository? The Grand Elder was stunned. There was indeed a copy of the Sky Demon Palm in the Sutra Depository. Then, how long did it take you to learn it? The Sky Demon Palm was extremely difficult to cultivate. Some elders spent half their lives and still couldn't master it. The first elder, on the other hand, had spent an entire 7 months before he succeeded. However, Empress Luo Wuqing was an exception. Back then, Empress Luo Wuqing took 3 days to successfully cultivate the Sky Demon Palm. Time-consuming. Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. It seemed that he learned it in less than a minute. However, wasn't this a bit too pretentious? Forget it. Let's be tactful. Ning Tian pondered for a moment, then raised a finger. 1 day. He thought that 1 day should be long enough, right? 1 day was indeed longer than 1 minute. What? 1 day? The Grand Elder was stunned. The group of Tiamat cult elders was dumbfounded. 1 day? This was faster than the Empress's cultivation speed. Was this trash? What's wrong? Seeing their shocked expressions, Ning Tian scratched his head. Wasn't 1 day a long time? His concept was still on Earth. 1 day was indeed a long time, more than 1,000 minutes. 1 day, this is a genius. No. This is a peerless genius in martial arts. The Grand Elder was so excited that his body trembled and tears streamed down his face. How many years had it been? The Tianma cult finally had a disciple whose talent was comparable to or even surpassing the Empress's. In less than a decade, he would be another emperor-level figure. You have shocked the Tianma cult elders. You are rewarded with 1,000 spiritual energy cultivation points. Ning Imo suddenly felt that the spiritual energy in his body had increased by a large amount. 1 day. In an instant, many of the saints and princes in the hall were shocked again. Their chests tightened, and their accumulated blood surged. A second ago, you said you couldn't reach the sky in 1 step and didn't dare to call yourself a genius. But the next second, you could comprehend an extremely difficult martial art in 1 day. Then what were they? They weren't even worthy of being trash? Oh no! The saint of the holy land of light fainted. The crown prince of the divine nation fainted. The saint of the heaven vault holy land vomited blood. He lost too much blood and fainted. In the hall, blood rushed to the heads of countless saints and princes. Their vision went black, and they directly fell to the ground. Seeing this, the Grand Elder shook his head repeatedly, feeling a headache coming on. After today, who knew how many saints and princes' Dao hearts would be damaged, and Ning Tian might even become their inner demon. But fortunately, with the Empress in charge, the forces behind these saints and princes would not dare to ask for an explanation. The farce ended, and the wedding hall went on as usual. At this moment, no one felt that Ning Tian was not worthy of the Empress. In their eyes, Ning Tian already had endless possibilities. It was very likely that in a few decades, or even a few years, the Tianma cult would give birth to another emperor-level powerhouse. Tianling region, righteous alliance. Celestial qi lingered in the air, and red-crowned cranes flew in the clouds. It was like a paradise on earth. In the mountains, there was a magnificent hall, hidden in the swirling celestial qi. In the hall, several white-haired elders sat facing each other. Each of the white-haired elders had a silver glow around them, and their bodies were reinforced by the great Tao. Their auras were incomparably powerful. After a long silence, a white-haired elder in a black robe looked at the crowd and slowly spoke. Now, the demonic Tao is rampant, and the Tianma cult is the leader of the demonic Tao. What do you think? Chapter 7. The elder's voice was as loud as a bell, echoing throughout the hall. The other white-haired elders were silent. An elder with sharp eyebrows and white hair that almost reached his waist pondered for a moment before saying, "The demonic path is flourishing, and they're afraid of doing harm. The Tianma cult is the leader among them, so I think we should destroy them." Elder Jian Mei's words make sense. A coarse elder stood up. He was dressed in hemp garments and had a broadsword at his waist. If the Tianma cult is not destroyed, the celestial spirit realm will sooner or later be filled with bloodshed. According to what Elder Jian Mei and Elder Frenzied Blade said, what do you all think? The white-haired, black-robed elder narrowed his eyes and looked at the elders around him. Humph, if we want to destroy the demonic path, we must first destroy the Tianma cult. Elder Frenzied Blade snorted. Oh? The white-haired, black-robed elder narrowed his eyes and looked at Elder Jian Mei. Elder Jian Mei, what do you think? Elder Jian Mei raised his head slightly. I agree. We must destroy the Tianma cult. What about you all? We must destroy the Tianma cult. I agree. If we want to destroy the demonic path, we must first eliminate the leader. The Tianma cult must be destroyed. The white-haired, black-robed elder nodded. While you were in seclusion, I've already cooperated with the Void God Celestial Palace. In half a year, we'll suppress the Tianma cult. The Void God Celestial Palace? Could it be the Void God Celestial Palace in the Firmament territory? Their palace master is also a genuine Emperor God expert. The elders couldn't help but be surprised. Elder Jian Mei frowned slightly. Alliance Master, isn't there a rule among the spirit realms that no one is allowed to interfere beyond their borders? So what? The white-haired, black-robed elder smiled faintly, looking righteous. For the sake of the world, we're crossing the border to eliminate a demonic path. I don't think that's too much, right? The world should be grateful to us. Hearing this, the group of elders nodded. They felt that what he said was reasonable. What they did was for the common people, for the world. Elders, you may not know this, but the Tianma cult is very lively today. The white-haired, black-robed elder smiled. Oh? The elders were taken aback for a moment, and their interest was piqued. Today is Luo Wuqing's wedding day. The white-haired, black-robed old man narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, What? Luo Wuqing's wedding day? The elders of the Righteous Alliance looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. The empress of the Tianma cult, Luo Wuqing, wasn't interested in men. Everyone in the Sky Spirit realm knew this. However, it was this Luo Wuqing who did not get close to men that they heard about her marriage at this moment. How could they not be shocked? Elder Jian Mei swallowed his saliva and suppressed the shock in his heart. He looked at the white-haired, black-robed elder and asked, The person who is marrying the empress is the prince of a big country? No. Do you think the prince of a big country is worthy? The white-haired, black-robed elder asked in return. Elder Jian Mei was silent. The prince of a big country was not worthy. Then, is it the saint of a sacred ground? No. The god of the celestial palace? No. The mandate of heaven's saint? Also no. The body of the ancients? No. At this point, Elder Jian Mei and the other elders were completely silent. Who exactly was the empress getting married to? Elder Jian Mei gritted his teeth and asked again, Could it be the reincarnation of the god of heaven? This was the last possibility that he could think of. If it was not, Elder Jian Mei did not dare to think about it, because it could be the top existence in the Tianqian continent. No, also no. The white-haired, black-robed elder said with a smile. Also no? The few elders widened their eyes. Who exactly was the person who married the empress? Could it be that he had surpassed the emperor realm and reached the god realm? Hiss. But if that was the case, how could their crusade in half a year be successful? Why was the alliance leader smiling so happily? Finally, under the puzzled gazes of the elders, the white-haired, black-robed elder said slowly, It's a disciple of the Tianma cult. A disciple of the Tianma cult? The elders had strange expressions. They had not heard of a genius with amazing aptitude appearing in the Tianma cult recently. That person is Ning Tian, a disciple of the Tianma cult who does odd jobs. For the past 3 years, he has been stuck at Fighter First LV, stuck at Fighter First LV in 3 years? Then isn't he a good-for-nothing? Sword Eyebrows Elder and the others were shocked. Their hearts were in turmoil. Marrying a good-for-nothing? Was this the Empress's choice? Since when had the Empress fallen so low? Marrying a good-for-nothing, wasn't she demeaning herself? At this moment, the elders had a sudden realization. No wonder the alliance leader was so happy. The Empress was marrying a good-for-nothing. She must have lost her mind. Just as the elders were sighing, the jade stone on the white-haired, black-robed elder's waist shone faintly. It was a spiritual weapon, the psychic jade stone. He took off the jade stone and placed it in his palm. A burly man appeared in the light screen. This man was the Guangzhou sect leader. Guangzhou, how's the matter I asked you to do? He asked calmly. The Guangzhou sect leader nodded, but his expression was bitter. Alliance leader, the matter has been settled. Lin Xiaoyao was indeed impulsive, but, the white-haired, black-robed elder frowned, seemingly displeased. The Guangzhou sect leader gritted his teeth. Although he was afraid, he could only bite the bullet and say it. After all, this was not a trivial matter. Alliance leader, that Ning Tian is not a good-for-nothing. He defeated Lin Xiaoyao, who was regarded as a genius by the Dongxing nation. Within a day, he even learned the Tianma cult's most difficult cultivation technique, the Sky Demon Palm. He even shattered the Taoist hearts of dozens of saints and deities with a single sentence. Many of them fainted from anger and left the scene. The Guangzhou sect leader's expression was very strange. Even he did not expect this. His words fell. However, the main hall fell into a dead silence. He defeated Lin Xiaoyao with a single palm. He learned the Sky Demon Palm in a day. He shattered the Taoist hearts of the saints and deities with a single sentence. The first two were extremely terrifying, but what shocked them was that he shattered the Taoist hearts with a single sentence. What was the Taoist heart? It maintained the cultivator's original intention to cultivate. The Taoist hearts of the saints and deities had been strengthened by countless powerhouses. It should be indestructible. However, at this moment, it was shattered by a single sentence. At this moment, the white-haired, black-robed elder felt as if he had been slapped hard. His face was burning with pain. He had just said that Ning Tian was a good-for-nothing, but now, it was a heavy slap to his face. Damn it! His teeth creaked as he gritted his teeth, and his eyes were burning with anger. Investigate. We must find out the background of this Ning Tian. Yes, the psychic jade's shadow dissipated. The white-haired, black-robed elder could not calm down. The other elders did not dare to say a word either. They thought that the Empress was stupid, but who would have thought that they were the stupid ones? At this moment, the wedding hall had naturally ended. Ning Tian did not know that he had been targeted. He was still busy with his wedding night with Luo Wuqing. Chapter 8. Heavenly Spirit Region, Tianma Cult. The wedding ceremony had come to an end. It was already late, and Ning Tian and Luo Wuqing entered the bridal chamber. Until they entered the bridal chamber, some of the saints and divine sons with good Taoist hearts looked at Ning Imo with jealousy. The saintess princess looked like she had lost her lover. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she was reluctant to part with him. This made Ning Tian feel a chill on his back. He felt a cold gaze looking at him mercilessly. This scared him so much that he quickly closed the door. It directly blocked the view of many people. The saints and divine daughters outside sighed and left. Phew! Ning Tian breathed a sigh of relief. This system was really harmful. Although the divine charm physique was good, it was not so useful in front of the Empress. They entered the bridal chamber. Luo Wuqing sat by the dressing table, as if nothing had happened, and tidied up her appearance. From beginning to end, she did not say a word to Ning Tian. This made Ning Tian sit on the bed awkwardly. Looking at Luo Wuqing's graceful back, he felt an itch in his heart, especially when he recalled a few hours ago. It was like a dream from last night. That, Ning Tian swallowed, then got up and walked toward Luo Wuqing. Honey, this is the bridal chamber. Shouldn't we do something that should be done on a bridal chamber? Luo Wuqing turned around and glanced at Ning Tian. Her eyes were cold and merciless, and there seemed to be a little murderous. Ah ha ha, it's okay, it's okay. Ning Tian scratched his head, as if he was unwilling. No, today, I don't believe that I can't take her down. System, activate the divine charm physique. Ning Tian gritted his teeth. At this moment, he was emitting a unique aura. It was as if one would be fascinated and trapped by him at first glance. Honey. Ning Tian gathered his courage and called out to Luo Wuqing once again. What is it? Luo Wuqing put down the bronze mirror in his hand and looked at Ning Tian indifferently. Look at me. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Tian activated his divine charm physique. It was as if there was a galaxy in his eyes. Luo Wuqing looked over. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a touch of blurriness, but in less than a second, her eyes returned to their original tranquility. She glanced at Ning Tian indifferently. I know you have a special constitution. You can deal with little girls, but you're still too inexperienced to deal with me. The Tao heart of the Empress. It could be said that it had reached an indestructible level. Even if Ning Tian had the godly charm physique, the difference in strength was still extremely difficult to make up for. About that. Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned and could only scratch his head awkwardly. At this moment, Luo Wuqing stood up gracefully and glanced at Ning Imo indifferently. Lecherous thoughts, but no guts. As soon as she finished speaking, she slowly took off the red dress on her body, leaving only her undergarments, outlining her perfect figure. At this moment, Ning Tian's mouth was dry. Who said I don't have guts? I'll prove it to you right now. For the dignity of a man. Ning Tian had to prove it to Luo Wuqing even if he had to hold back his tears. As soon as he finished speaking, he was about to move. Luo Wuqing pointed at him lightly. Instantly, his body was suppressed. As for the great empress, she pulled up the blanket and laid down on the bed, covering her beautiful and perfect body. Even if you have the guts, unfortunately, you don't have the strength. Ning Tian was silent. What did you do to me? Nothing. I just used a little bit of spiritual energy to suppress you. Luo Wuqing glanced at Ning Tian indifferently. Tonight, you'll sleep standing up. Huh. Ning Tian was petrified. His face was full of confusion. Damn, do you think I'm a horse? Sleeping standing up? Luo Wuqing, don't force my stars. Hey, let me go if you dare. Let's not use our strength. Let's fight on the bed. Hello? Hello? However, in the face of Ning Tian's incompetent rage, Luo Wuqing yawned, indicating that she was going to sleep, ignoring Ning Tian. The night passed in the blink of an eye. Early morning, when Ning Tian woke up, he found that Luo Wuqing had already left the room, and he actually slept standing up the whole night. Damn it. Ning Tian only felt sore all over, clenching his teeth. Luo Wuqing, wait until I'm stronger than you. I'll definitely hold you down and spank your ass, he muttered. It was the wedding night. Forget about doing what needed to be done. He didn't even touch her, and he even slept standing up the whole night. He sighed. Ning Tian couldn't do anything about it. After all, who asked the other party to be so strong? This also made Ning Tian realize the importance of cultivation. If he didn't improve his strength, how could he teach the Empress wife that her husband was the most important principle in the world? Let's cultivate. Ning Tian sat cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. A few days passed. It had been a few days since the Empress's wedding ceremony, and many forces in the Tianling realm had heard about what happened at the wedding ceremony. When they heard that the so-called trash disciple of the Tianma cult shone brilliantly and even shattered the hearts of many saints and deities with a single sentence, their expressions were extremely interesting. They wanted to see a joke, but they didn't expect to become the joke. Some of the saints in the hall were so angry that they even directly announced that they were quitting the position of saint. This made many of the lords of the Holy Land speechless, and they were angry and resentful of Ning Tian. However, they only dared to think about it. Ning Tian was now the Empress' husband. Who dared to provoke him? Tianma Cult, Earth Origin Hall. The spiritual energy here was rich, and many inner disciples cultivated here. Earth Origin Hall was circular in shape. The closer to the center, the richer the spiritual energy. However, at this moment, many disciples would rather stay at the outermost periphery than the center. Their eyes were fixed on the center. In the center, there was a figure sitting cross-legged. That was Ning Tian, who dared to provoke the Empress husband. Ning Tian was sitting cross-legged at this moment, feeling the continuous influx of spiritual energy from the surroundings. He was overjoyed. He didn't expect the Tianma cult to have such a good place. In the past 3 years, he had never been here. The rich and pure spiritual energy of heaven and earth, coupled with 10 times the spiritual energy absorption speed, increased the spiritual energy at lightning speed. What an amazing cultivation speed! If only I had 1/10 of his cultivation speed. Many male and female disciples looked at him and felt a lot of spiritual energy entering his body. Many were envious. If they had speed, would they still be struggling here? I don't know who spread the rumor that he was trash. I really want to kill him. How is he trash? He's obviously a cultivation genius. Many disciples gritted their teeth and were envious. After a while, Ning Tian opened his eyes, frowned slightly, and muttered softly, "This cultivation speed is not fast enough." As soon as he said this, many disciples around him were dumbfounded. The spiritual energy is flying into your body as if it's in a hurry to be reincarnated. How is this not fast enough? Chapter 9. Ning Tian chose to ignore the indignation of the surrounding disciples. Looks like I can only increase my spiritual energy absorption by 10 times. Soon, Ning Tian stopped holding back. For some reason, his cultivation speed had slowed down over the past few days. In the past few days, he had only increased his strength by 1 star, reaching the level of a 7-star black martial master. According to the system, the spiritual energy that he had accumulated over the past few days had been used to consolidate his breakthrough. Although he wasn't strong now, he had a solid foundation. 10 times spiritual energy absorption, fully activated. The system's voice sounded. Then, Ning Tian felt a strong suction force explode in her body, and a lot of spiritual qi around her was sucked into her body. Haha, this is the effect I want. Ning Tian was overjoyed. He immediately sat cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. Countless amounts of rich spiritual energy condensed around him. Boom. Then, the entire Earth Origin Hall shook violently. Many disciples were shocked. What was that sound? Was it an earthquake? Or did something happen? Then, a strong suction force erupted from the center of Earth Palace. Suddenly, the spiritual energy in Earth Palace disappeared. They were all gathered in the center. Who was fighting for the spiritual energy? Some of the inner disciples who were cultivating suddenly opened their eyes. Their eyes were filled with anger. When the strong suction force erupted, they could clearly feel that the spiritual energy that was about to enter their bodies was sucked away. How could these disciples not be angry when the meat in their mouths was snatched away? Who is it? It's that bastard? A group of inner disciples stood up angrily and looked at the group of outer disciples. The outer disciples shook their heads, indicating that it was not them. Then, they pointed at Ning Tian. It's him? Oh, I'd like to see which bastard dares to fight for the spiritual energy with us. A cold smile appeared on the faces of the group of inner court disciples. They turned around. They looked. Instantly, the group of inner disciples widened their eyes. How could it be him? When they saw Ning Tian, the group of people instantly lost their temper. At this time, 10 times the absorption of spiritual energy burst out. Countless spiritual qi formed a spiritual qi dragon vein, circling above the Earth Yuan Hall. The spiritual qi was like a dragon's breath, continuously flowing into Ning Tian's body. What a terrifying absorption of spiritual energy! Can his body really endure absorbing so much spiritual energy? Many disciples stopped in their tracks to watch this scene. When they saw the spirit dragon formed from spirit energy, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. At this moment, spiritual energy gathered around Ning Tian's body. It was as if he was covered in a silver radiance, extremely dazzling. Like a dragon sucking in water, it fiercely sucked in spiritual energy continuously. As for the surrounding disciples, they were dumbfounded after seeing this. After a long time, the spiritual energy in Earth Yuan Hall had been completely absorbed. There was really not a single drop left. The group of disciples widened their eyes in bewilderment. It was said that the spiritual energy in the Earth Origin Hall was mobilized through a magic array. It was mobilized every morning. As such, it would take another day for the Earth Origin Hall to be filled with spiritual energy again. Phew! Ning Tian opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. What a pity. Without the support of skills, this amount of spiritual energy is not enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. He shook his head. That's right. After absorbing all the spiritual energy in the Earth Yuan Hall, his strength still did not increase. However, Ning Tian's body had already stored a lot of spiritual energy. Hearing his words, the surrounding disciples were stunned and stood rooted to the ground. That was the spiritual energy of the entire Earth Yuan Hall. It was so huge, but it was still not enough to fill the gaps between your teeth. Ning Tian stood up, stretched his back, and was ready to leave. At this moment, a voice rang in his mind. You have shocked a group of disciples. You are rewarded with a profound martial art, swimming dragon steps. Cultivating swimming dragon steps at 10 times the speed. Swimming dragon steps successfully cultivated. Huh. Ning Tian was stunned. He looked at the surrounding disciples and saw the shocked expressions on their faces. He was speechless. I'm just casually cultivating for a bit. How can I shock you all? After being speechless, Ning Tian stood up and was ready to leave. Suddenly, he remembered that the sutra depository seemed to be opened according to the time limit. With the mentality of asking, he casually asked a junior sister next to him. That junior sister was stunned and subconsciously looked at Ning Tian. Suddenly, her eyes were overflowing with peach blossoms. She was instantly captivated by Ning Tian. Ancestral Master. The Sutra Depository is open today. The junior sister blushed and replied softly, It's open today? Hearing this, Ning Tian nodded. Suddenly, he reacted and looked at his junior sister. What did you just call me? Ancestral Master. The junior sister blinked innocently. Ancestral Master?
Yes.
The junior sister nodded. According to the rules of the Tianma cult, the person who marries the empress is called the Ancestral Master. No, the Ancestral Master is too old. Ning Tian shook his head. He was only 20 years old and was still a good youth. He wasn't old enough to be the Ancestral Master. Ancestral Master, what should I call you? The junior sister's watery eyes landed on Ning Tian. Call me brother. I think it's pretty good. Brother? The junior sister was stunned. She looked at Ning Tian seriously. Ancestral Master, are you sure you're not flirting with me? Flirting? Ning Tian's face darkened, and he quickly shook his head. What a joke. If that woman Luo Wuqing knew about it, who knew what she would do? Ahem, all of you cultivate here slowly. I'll leave first. After speaking, Ning Tian didn't waste any more time. He activated swimming dragon steps and left Earth Yuan Hall. The group of disciples looked bitterly at Ning Tian's departing figure. They couldn't help but complain in their hearts. You've already absorbed all the spiritual energy in Earth Yuan Hall. There's really not a single drop left. What the hell are we cultivating for? Chapter 10. After leaving the Earth Origin Hall, Ning Tian immediately channeled his spiritual energy and used the swimming dragon step. His body was like a swimming dragon as he rushed toward the Sutra Depository. The entire Tianma cult was extremely wide. Every mountain was a hall, and the distance between the halls was very far. Back then, it took Ning Tian dozens of minutes to run from Luo Wuqing's place to the demonic palace. The dark level technique, swimming dragon step, was indeed reliable. Under Ning Tian's full power, he arrived at the Sutra Depository in just a few minutes. Most importantly, he had also discovered something important. It was precisely because of the large amount of spiritual energy stored in his body that he could constantly use the swimming dragon step. He didn't have to worry about running out of spiritual energy. This feeling, it was very satisfying, and in front of him was the sutra depository. That huge and magnificent ancient building had a total of 5 floors. It was said that all the cultivation methods and martial arts that the previous leaders of the Tianma cult had searched for in their lifetime were stored in it. And on each floor, the higher the level, the higher the quality of the cultivation method. Many Tianma cult disciples were lined up in front of the ancient building. One by one, they were waiting to enter the sutra depository. Ning Tian was also in urgent need of a good cultivation method. The spiritual energy in his body had already piled up like a mountain, and the function of the cultivation method was to transmit it to the place where the body should go. This way, it would also help to increase the speed of cultivation. Ning Tian walked over. Looking at the long line, he couldn't help but frown and murmured, "Such a long line? How long will I have to wait in line?" "Hey, you don't know this." His murmur was heard by a fat disciple in line in front of him. That fat disciple chuckled. "Junior brother, I can tell at a glance that you're new. This is the sutra depository. It's very normal to queue for 3 days and 3 nights. "Oh, is that so?" Ning Tian frowned. If it really was 3 days and 3 nights, then he couldn't wait, so he had to use his privilege. "Yes, however, junior brother, you don't have to worry. Senior brother is here to accompany you. Your journey in the queue. F***CK, Patriarch." The fat disciple turned around and looked at Ning Tian. His expression changed in an instant, and the fat on his fat face squeezed together. "Patriarch?" Whoosh, swoosh. The entire long queue turned their heads in unison, their gazes landing on Ning Tian. "Damn, it really is the Patriarch. Patriarch is so handsome. I want to give birth to a monkey for Patriarch. Patriarch, let's elope. Patriarch." In an instant, the eyes of the group of female disciples flashed with peach blossoms as they spoke shamelessly. There were even some who constantly threw flirtatious glances at Ning Tian. Due to the attraction of the divine charm physique, they had forgotten how terrifying the Empress was. The male disciples gritted their teeth in envy. Not only did Ning Tian marry the Empress, but he was also seducing the hearts of all the female disciples. Hearing the shouts of the female disciples, Ning Tian was speechless. This divine charm physique was simply attracting bees and butterflies. If that woman, Luo Wuqing, knew about it, who knew what would happen? "System, I hate you." Ning Tian scolded the system fiercely. Then, he ignored the gazes of the group of disciples and walked past the long queue. He used his privilege and came to the sutra depository. Seeing the arrival of the Patriarch, the group of disciples respectfully made way for him. Since the Patriarch was here, they naturally had to let him enter first. Inside the sutra depository, there was a registration counter. A white-haired old man lowered his head and recorded the details of the disciples who entered. Next, sensing that someone had entered, the white-haired old man did not even raise his head. The brush in his hand was still shaking. "Name, Gate Hall. Ning Tian. I don't know Gate Hall." Hearing the white-haired old man's words, Ning Tian answered honestly. As for Gate Hall, he really did not know. Every disciple who entered the Tianma cult would be assigned a Gate Hall. Every mountain gate was a Gate Hall. As for Ning Tian from before, he really did not have a Gate Hall. After all, he was just a disciple who did odd jobs. Why would he need a Gate Hall? No Gate Hall? The white-haired old man was stunned. Suddenly, he thought of something. He raised his head and asked, "What did you say your name was?" "Ning Tian." As soon as Ning Tian said this, he could not help but have a bad feeling in his heart. Could it be? This old man had to call him Patriarch, right? The moment Ning Tian thought of this, the white-haired old man greeted him respectfully. The white-haired old man had a respectful expression as he opened his mouth and said, "Gu Han greets Patriarch." Ning Tian. This old man's age was definitely old enough to be his grandfather. In fact, one could not judge a cultivator by his appearance. He might even be old enough to be his great-grandfather. To be called Patriarch by such an old man, this feeling, all right, don't be so offended. We're all members of the Tianma cult. We're family." Ning Tian waved his hand. Right now, He just wanted to ask Elder Gu Han to enter the sutra depository. As expected of Patriarch, just a casual sentence, and your heart is tied to the Tianma cult. After hearing Ning Tian's words, Elder Gu Han, who was affected by the divine charm physique, only felt that Ning Tian was more pleasing to the eye. Those old things in the past actually called Patriarch a good-for-nothing. They must have been blind. Seeing Elder Gu Han's agitated expression, Ning Tian suddenly felt that the divine charm physique seemed to have some benefits. So, Elder Gu Han, can I go in now? Of course. Elder Gu Han nodded and took out a glittering ancient tablet from the counter. Patriarch, this is the key to the 5th floor of the Sutra Depository. Once you reach the 5th floor, you can go anywhere you want. The key to the 5th floor. Hearing this, the group of disciples outside was filled with envy. The 5th floor. Apart from the Empress, the Grand Elder, and the Grand Elder, no one else had ever entered. Not to mention the disciples. Even the disciples who had made outstanding contributions to the Tianma cult had only been to the 4th floor. Who would have thought that the Patriarch would go directly to the 5th floor? Oh, the 5th floor? Ning Tian was stunned, then took the glittering ancient tablet with satisfaction. This Elder Gu Han knew how to do things. Under the envious gazes of the disciples, Ning Tian took the ancient tablet and walked directly into the Sutra Depository. The 1st floor of the Sutra Depository was filled with yellow-rank martial arts techniques. Usually, it was for new outer sect disciples to choose entry-level martial arts and techniques. Ning Tian's gaze naturally did not linger here. If he wanted to go up, he would go straight to the 5th floor. Inside the scripture depository, many disciples' expressions changed when they saw Ning Tian's sudden appearance. Then, they respectfully greeted Ning Tian as their ancestor. However, Ning Tian was already used to it. Which floor is the Patriarch going to go to? Should be the 3rd or 4th floor, but at most the 3rd floor. After all, the Patriarch's strength is there for all to see. In the Sutra Depository, a group of disciples looked at Ning Tian and could not help but discuss. At this moment, a voice came from above. Patriarch, the Patriarch is going to the 5th floor. At this moment, the group of disciples' expressions changed. F*CK, the 5th floor. The Patriarch is forever a god. Awesome. Chapter 11. In front of the 5th floor of the Sutra Depository, the thick and heavy ancient door blocked Ning Tian's path. Once he stepped through the door, Ning Tian would find the best skills waiting for him. Looking at Ning Tian's figure below, the disciples swallowed their saliva. Damn, is the ancestral master really going to the 5th floor? No way, that's the 5th floor. Some of the disciples refused to believe it. Even if Ning Tian was the Empress's husband, he shouldn't be qualified to enter the 5th floor, right? The painstaking collection of the previous sect masters was almost all on the 5th floor. Under the disbelieving gaze of the disciples, Ning Tian suddenly scratched his head and turned around. Seeing this, the disciples were stunned. It seemed that the ancestral master was really just going up to take a look. They heaved a sigh of relief. Suddenly, they saw Ning Tian take out the glittering ancient tablet and ask, "Do any of you know where the keyhole of this ancient door is?" It turned out that Ning Tian was stunned in front of the ancient door because he didn't see the keyhole. Damn, this is the key to the 5th floor. The disciples were shocked. The ancestral master really had the key to the 5th floor. You've shocked a group of disciples. You've completed an ordinary shock. Reward, 300 spiritual energy cultivation points. That, I was just asking. You don't have to be so shocked. After being speechless for a while, Ning Tian looked at the disciples. He suddenly felt that anything he did could shock them. Ancestral Master, we don't know. Ancestral Master, we don't know. The disciples shook their heads. They didn't know how to open the 5th floor. At this moment, an old voice sounded. I know how to enter. A red-haired old man slowly walked out from the 4th level. His appearance was somewhat similar to Elder Gu Han from before, but looking at his face, he seemed to have a bad temper. It's Elder Gu Yin, Elder Gu Han's younger brother. Elder Gu Yin. It's said that Elder Gu Yan's strength is an emperor. He's reached the Holy Emperor realm, Saint Emperor stage. F***CK. The group of disciples looked at the red-haired elder with reverence. Their eyes were filled with respect and awe. This was different from the pure fear in his eyes when he looked at Ning Tian. This was the reverence he had for the strong. Oh, you know? Ning Tian looked at him, but he didn't show the same reverence as the other disciples. This made many people break out in cold sweat for Ning Tian. Elder Gu Yin was famous for his one-track mind. If he didn't like someone, he would look down on them regardless of their identity. Back then, it was because Elder Guyan was stubborn and went against the empress that he was sent here. To guard the scripture depository, it is said that Elder Gu Yin has a fiery temper. I wonder if he will be courteous to the ancestor. I don't think so. Hee. Maybe we can watch a good show. The group of disciples discussed animatedly, preparing to watch a good show. Yes, ancestor. I know. However, Elder Gu Yin was very respectful toward Ning Tian. You only need to hold the ancient tablet and touch the ancient gate with your body. Then, you will be able to enter. Seeing Elder Gu Yan's attitude, the group of disciples was shocked. Elder Gu Yin, who had a fiery temper, was actually being courteous to Ning Tian. This was completely different from what they had imagined. Oh, I just need to hold the ancient tablet? Thank you. Ning Tian nodded. You are welcome. Ancestor, feel free to enter. If there is anything you don't understand, you can ask me. Elder Gu Yin waved his hand and said courteously. The disciples at the side were puzzled. Why was this different from the Elder Gu Yin in their impression? They still remembered that some time ago, an outstanding disciple from the main hall came to the scripture depository and humbly asked Elder Gu Yin for advice. However, he was scolded by Elder Gu Yin. But now, he was treating the ancestor. At this moment, Ning Tian held the ancient tablet in one hand and touched the thick ancient door with the other. The ancient door shone with a golden light and rippled like water. His hand passed through it without a hitch. It's really effective. Ning Tian's eyes lit up. Without hesitation, he turned and entered the 5th floor. Seeing this, the group of disciples was really envious. The martial arts on the 5th floor were at least of the high mystic class. After Ning Tian left, Elder Gu Yin turned into a different person. He glared at the group of disciples and shouted, "What are you looking at? If you have the time to watch a show, why don't you go and cultivate? A bunch of trash. Go and cultivate. Don't disturb me." The group of disciples was stunned. They wanted to cry but had no tears. I didn't see you treat our ancestor like this. But even if they were unhappy, they could only laugh and scratch their heads. Elder Gu Yin is right. He's right. We'll go and cultivate right now. Soon, the group of disciples dispersed. They didn't dare to stay any longer and didn't dare to appear in front of Elder Gu Yin. A bunch of brats. Elder Gu Yin looked at the group of disciples leaving and shook his head. Then, he looked at the 5th floor. His eyes shone, and he couldn't help but murmur, "Our ancestor is really handsome." In the Sky Demon Palace, he broke the Tao hearts of dozens of saints and deities with a single sentence. It's really satisfying. These geniuses are nothing compared to our ancestor. Sutra Depository, 5th floor. Rows and rows of bookshelves were placed in front of Ning Tian. On each row, there was a scroll that was sealed with spiritual qi. So many good things. Ning Tian's eyes lit up. He was thinking about which one to open. But at this moment, the golden ancient tablet in his hand flew out and a row of golden words shone out. Ning Tian looked over. After a while, the corner of his mouth twitched. What kind of stupid rule is this? After entering the 5th floor, he could look at every scroll. But the ridiculous thing happened. He could only look at the introduction of the cultivation methods and martial arts. After picking one that he was satisfied with, he could use the ancient tablet to remove the spirit chi seal on the scroll. In other words, no matter how many good things there were on the 5th floor of the Sutra Depository, Ning Tian could only take one away. Ning Tian gritted his teeth. He really wanted Xingxing, the person who set the rules. It was really troublesome. There was meat, but he couldn't eat it. This feeling was not good. but he would be a fool if he didn't eat it. Ning Tian could only look through the large pile of cultivation methods and martial arts scrolls one by one. High mystic level martial arts, mountain breaking fist, breaking mountains with strength. He casually picked up a scroll. There were 3 words written on it: mountain breaking fist. Breaking mountains with strength. This seems not bad. No, this mountain breaking fist is not bad, but my goal is the cultivation method, Ning Tian muttered. Then, he put the martial arts scroll in his handbag and looked at the other scrolls. Chapter 12. High Profound Rank Cultivation Method, Absorbing Stars Cultivation Method, Low Earth Rank Cultivation Method, Thunder Rush Art, uses thunder and lightning to open spiritual veins. Middle Earth Rank Cultivation Method, Heavenly Spirit Method, assists in the absorption of spiritual energy, can open up 10 spiritual veins. It was to open up the meridians in the body that allowed spiritual energy to circulate. The more spiritual veins there were, the faster the spiritual energy would circulate in the body. Correspondingly, his strength would also be stronger. And the cultivation method was the fastest way to open spiritual veins. Therefore, many people would rather spend a little more time to find a cultivation method that could open up more spiritual veins. 10 spiritual veins were naturally not enough to satisfy Ning Tian's needs. He still had to search. Half an hour later. Ning Tian's gaze fell on a bookshelf. It was a scroll that was flickering with a dark light. The dark light revealed its extraordinariness. High Earth Rank Cultivation Method, Devil King Gong. It could open up 100 spiritual veins at most. 100. Ning Tian's eyes lit up. These 100 veins could be said to be quite good. At the very least, in this half an hour, he had not found a more powerful cultivation method than this. I'll take this Devil King Gong. Very quickly, he made up his mind. He placed the golden ancient tablet in his hand and touched the scroll of Devil King Gong. Very quickly, the ancient tablet turned into a ray of golden light. Like a key, it opened the spiritual energy shackles on the scroll. Ning Tian spread out the Devil King Gong. It was full of ancient text. Immediately, the spiritual energy in his body began to circulate, and he began to understand the cultivation method. Comprehending the Devil King Gong at 10 times the speed of comprehension, host has comprehended 10% of the Devil King Gong, reaching the level of beginner. Host has comprehended 30% of the Devil King Gong, reaching the level of small success. Host has comprehended 50% of the Devil King Gong, reaching the level of advanced. Host has comprehended 80% of the Devil King Gong, reaching the level of perfection. Host has comprehended 100% of the Devil King Gong, reaching the level of perfection. Host has completely comprehended the Devil King Gong. Under the tenfold comprehension, the Devil King art continued to revolve within Ning Tian's body. An hour later, he had successfully comprehended the Devil King art, and the next thing to do was open the spiritual vein. In theory, the Demon King technique has 100 spiritual veins. I should have at least 100, right? Ning Tian muttered. Then, he sat cross-legged and circulated his qi. He felt the spirit qi in his body flowing continuously. What he needed to do now was to open up the spirit qi in his body into spirit meridians. Rumble. Spiritual qi surged in his body. Spirit veins appeared one after another. 1, 2, dozens of spirit veins appeared. In an instant, Ning Tian felt that the spirit qi in his body was much smoother. 10 minutes later. Phew! Ning Tian exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and stood up from the ground. At this moment, there were 100 spirit veins circulating within his body. A steady flow of spiritual energy was delivered into his body. These 100 spiritual veins feel pretty good. Ning Tian stretched his body and felt the steady flow of spiritual energy through the spiritual veins. His eyes flashed with excitement. However, after opening up the spiritual veins, there was still a lot of spirit qi accumulated in his body. This amount of spirit qi was enough to open up the spiritual veins. However, he had already reached the limit of the Devil King art's spiritual veins. 100 spiritual veins. This was the limit of the Devil King art. Ning Tian frowned. Naturally, he couldn't just waste the spiritual qi. He stood up. He left the 5th floor. When Ning Tian came down from the 5th floor, many disciples saw him. What do you think the founder found on the 5th floor? It must be a cultivation technique. I wonder how many spiritual veins the founder can open up at once. Speaking of cultivation techniques, these disciples were curious about the number of spiritual veins Ning Tian opened up. They opened up around 7 to 8 spiritual veins. Occasionally, they would open up more than 10 spiritual veins, which was considered not bad. With the founder's talent and the cultivation techniques on the 5th floor, I think he can open up at least 30 spiritual veins. A disciple pondered for a while and said, 30 spiritual veins? Hearing this, the group of disciples was shocked and then envious. 30 spiritual veins. This was not a small number. Ning Tian ignored the discussion of these disciples and walked straight into the ancient tower. When he saw Elder Gu Yin, he immediately called out to him. Elder Gu Yin. Oh, it's the founder. Elder Gu Yan's stern face suddenly turned into a smile. He quickly asked, What's the matter, founder? Yes, and it's a big problem. Ning Tian nodded seriously. Oh? When these words came out, not only Elder Gu Yin, but also the surrounding disciples who were watching the show were nervous. Problem? Or a big problem? Everyone looked at Ning Tian. I wonder what is the big problem that the founder is talking about? Elder Gu Yin asked. There's no more powerful cultivation technique on the 5th floor? It's not enough for me to cultivate, Ning Tian said honestly. There are too few spiritual veins opened, but there's still a lot of spiritual qi left. So it's because there's not enough spiritual qi. Everyone was enlightened. They could not help but guess. Could it be that the founder did not even open up 30 spiritual veins and chose the wrong cultivation technique, so he was not satisfied and found an excuse to change it? Suddenly, many people were enlightened. So that's the reason. A glint flashed across Elder Gu Yan's eyes as he smiled faintly. If the ancestral master is not satisfied with the cultivation method, I can help you exchange it for another one. However, if I may be so bold as to ask, how many spiritual veins has the ancestral master opened? Not many. Ning Tian shook his head. I haven't even opened up all the spiritual qi in my body. Hearing this, the group of people seemed to understand something. If he did not even use up all the spiritual qi in his body, he probably only opened up a few spiritual veins. They could not help but twitch their lips and complain in their hearts. The founder's taste was too bad. He had already entered the 5th floor, but he still chose such a lousy cultivation technique. All right, founder, give me the cultivation technique you chose previously, and I'll change it for you. Elder Gu Yin nodded. Immediately, Ning Tian passed the scroll in his hand to Gu Yin. Gu Yin took it and looked at it subconsciously. His face instantly turned unnatural. This is the top cultivation technique? Devil's technique? Founder, stop joking, this is already the top. Top? Ning Tian frowned slightly. This 100 spiritual veins is obviously not enough. 100? This sentence was like a bolt from the blue, landing on the hearts of the group of disciples and Gu Yin. 100 spiritual veins. Damn, so powerful. Gu Yin swallowed his saliva. 100 spiritual veins was already the limit of the devil's technique. In just over an hour, Ancestor was actually able to comprehend the Devil King technique to the peak of perfection. This comprehension ability was too abnormal. Ding! Instantly, the system's voice sounded at this moment. You have shocked Elder Gu Yin of the Sutra Depository. You are rewarded with a godly cultivation technique, Heavenly God Record. Chapter 13. God-level cultivation technique? Tiantian record? Ningamo was shocked. The cultivation techniques and martial arts in Tiantian world were divided into 5 grades. From high to low, they were God, Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. This Tiantian record was the highest level of God-level cultivation technique. At this moment, Elder Gu Yin and a group of disciples were stunned on the spot as they looked at Ning Tian in shock. 100 veins. This made a group of disciples who only had a few or a dozen veins envious. Damn, 100 veins. How long has it been? He opened up 100 veins in an hour. A disciple swallowed his saliva and said in a trembling voice, So powerful. Ancestor is awesome. Ancestor is forever a god. In an instant, the group of disciples turned to look at Ning Tian with reverence. 100 veins. Elder Gu Yan's eyes flashed. He was different from the surrounding disciples who were shocked that Ning Tian had opened up 100 veins. He was shocked because Ning Tian was able to comprehend the Devil King technique to the peak in just over an hour. It was because of this that he was able to open up 100 veins. Moreover, according to Ning Tian's words, after opening up 100 veins, there was still a huge amount of spirit energy in his body. What did this mean? If it was a more powerful cultivation technique that could open up more veins for Ning Tian, wouldn't he be able to open up more veins? Hiss! Elder Gu Yan's eyes lit up and he was extremely excited. If such an extraordinary comprehension ability could also contain such a huge amount of spirit energy, their Tianma cult really had a genius disciple. Since the death of the previous cult master in the battle for the throne, even with the Empress in power, the Tianma cult is still not as strong as before. Now, I'm afraid that Ancestor is the beginning of a turnaround for the Tianma cult. Elder Gu Yin muttered to himself. His heart was filled with excitement at this moment. Ancestor. Gu Yin walked over, cupped his fists, and looked at Ning Tian respectfully. Your cultivation physique is extremely special. This Devil King technique is a complete waste of your talent. Therefore, I think that we should ask the Empress to use all the power of the sect to find a more powerful cultivation technique for you. Mobilize the entire sect's strength. The group of disciples looked at each other in shock. But thinking about it carefully, if the ancestral master's talent was really that terrifying, so what if they used the entire sect's strength? Perhaps they could create a fiend emperor. At that time, the Tianma cult would have 2 emperors in power. Who would dare to provoke them? No need. Just as everyone was looking at Ning Tian, he shook his head and waved his hand slightly. Don't need it? Elder Gu Yin and the group of disciples were stunned. But continuing to cultivate the Devil King technique is a complete waste of your talent. Elder Gu Yin had a look of disappointment on his face, as though he expected better from him. With the ancestral master's talent, if he were to cultivate a peerless technique, wouldn't those famous geniuses, such as the primordial divine body or the mandate of heaven, be beaten up by him? When did I say that I want to continue cultivating the Devil King technique? Ning Tian smiled. Now that he had the heavenly god record, who would want to cultivate an earth-class technique? Then, ancestral master, you. Elder Gu Yin was confused. No need to say more. Ning Tian waved his hand and interrupted Elder Gu Yan's words. He then turned around and walked up to the 5th floor. The spirit chi on the 5th floor was thicker. He planned to comprehend the heavenly god record on the 5th floor. Looking at Ning Tianxiao's back, the group of disciples couldn't help but be stunned, the corners of their mouths turning bitter. Was this the ancestral master? With extraordinary talent, he could do whatever he wanted. Ancestral master, you sigh. Elder Gu Yin let out a heavy sigh. His eyes were filled with helplessness. He couldn't understand. The ancestral master clearly had the potential to use the entire sect's strength to find a powerful cultivation technique for him. But why didn't he use it? Sigh. What a waste of talent. Elder Gu Yin shook his head and sighed, feeling that it was a pity. The 5th floor. Feeling the thick spirit chi around him, Ning Tian started to absorb it with satisfaction. When the spirit chi in his body expanded again, he started to comprehend the cultivation technique, comprehending the heavenly god record at 10 times the speed. Ning Tian sat cross-legged. The 100 spirit meridians in his body collapsed at this moment and turned into spirit chi that returned to Ning Tian's body. In an instant, the spirit chi in his body expanded even more. If he wanted to cultivate a new cultivation technique, he naturally had to dissolve the spirit meridians that he had opened with the previous cultivation technique. He felt the spirit chi continue to stack. and he was also comprehending the heavenly God record. However, this was a God-class technique after all. It wasn't easy to comprehend it, even if it was 10 times the speed of cultivation. An hour later, Host has comprehended 30% of the heavenly God record and has reached the level of minor accomplishment. Huff! Ning Tian slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Even though he had only comprehended 30%, it was enough to exhaust him. It seems that I can't continue comprehending with the strength of a black martial master, Ning Tian murmured softly. After thinking for a moment, he came to this conclusion. After all, it was a God-class technique. It was a bit too difficult to comprehend it in one go. His aptitude was enough, but his strength was still lacking. However, although he had reached the level of minor accomplishment in the heavenly God record, it was still powerful. The spirit chi in his body was endless. Next was to open the spirit meridians. I want to see how many spirit meridians I can open with the heavenly God record. Ning Tian's eyes lit up. Spirit chi circulated. Spirit meridians formed in his body, one after another. Most importantly, the spirit meridians opened by the heavenly God record were stronger than those opened by the Devil King technique. Boom! At this moment, his body was like a small construction site. Countless rich spirit chi were looking for their own spirit meridians. Another and another. At this moment, Ning Tian's body was like a sea of stars. Host is cultivating the heavenly God record, activating the heavenly God physique. Heavenly God physique? Hearing the system's abrupt words, Ning Tian immediately understood. No wonder the system didn't say anything when he asked when the heavenly God physique was. It turned out that the heavenly God physique could only be activated by cultivating the heavenly God record. Heavenly God physique has been activated. Opening spirit meridians. Boom. In an instant, the spirit chi in Ning Tian's body, which was like a sea of stars, rushed out of his body uncontrollably. On the 5th floor, it was as if he had fallen into a sea of spirit chi. Ning Tian's body was shining with a silver brilliance. A golden light suddenly shot up from his body into the sky. In an instant, it pierced a big hole in the roof of the scripture depository, and this golden light pointed straight to the sky. The sky above the Tianma cult was covered by dark clouds. Heaven and earth seemed to have changed color. Boom! In the dark clouds, there was a faint thunder falling continuously. Heaven and earth phenomenon. Dark clouds covering the sun. Seeing the heaven and earth phenomenon caused by him, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. His expression changed suddenly, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. What's going on? Is this really opening the spirit meridians? Not splitting heaven and earth? Chapter 14. Boom! Dark clouds covered the sky above the Tianma cult, and thunder rumbled in the clouds. Countless disciples raised their heads, their eyes filled with shock. Not far away, a golden light shot into the sky. What's going on? Is that an elder cultivating? Or is the empress cultivating? Is that a lightning tribulation? Countless disciples looked up at the direction of the golden light. It seemed to be coming from the sutra depository. Boom! Suddenly, the sky and earth shook. A thunderous roar resounded in the sky, echoing throughout the Tianma cult. In an instant, countless disciples ran out of their cultivation grounds, including the inner and outer sect elders. F*CK, is that a lightning tribulation? Which grand elder is going through a tribulation? This lightning tribulation is powerful. A group of Earth King elders trembled as they looked at the thunderclouds in the sky. Their hearts were filled with fear. That terrifying lightning tribulation had only revealed a tiny bit of its power, but it was enough to scare them. Should we inform the Empress? The group of elders trembled under the lightning tribulation. Sutra depository. Boom! The golden light shot into the sky, and the huge commotion attracted the attention of Elder Gu Yin and Elder Gu Han. What is that? Golden light and lightning tribulation? The two of them narrowed their eyes at the golden lightning tribulation. Their eyes were filled with solemnity. Even if they were at the Saint Emperor realm, it would probably be difficult for them to survive the golden lightning tribulation. Oh my God! Feeling the terror of the lightning tribulation, Elder Gu Yan's eyes flashed with horror. My ancestor, what are you doing? He remembered that Ning Tian was still on the 5th floor. This huge commotion must have been caused by Ning Tian. Hiss! You're saying that the golden lightning tribulation that even we are afraid of was caused by our ancestral master? Elder Gu Han sucked in a breath of cold air. Yes. Yes. F***CK. Elder Gu Han swallowed a mouthful of saliva with great difficulty. Looking at the golden lightning tribulation flashing in the sky, he instantly felt his body go soft. My ancestral master. What? What did you do? In the Sutra Depository, a group of disciples was attracted by the commotion and stopped cultivating. When they saw the golden light shooting into the sky from the 5th floor, their expressions were as interesting as they could be. What's going on? What a powerful golden light. F***CK. Look at the sky. A disciple's expression changed slightly as he looked up at the sky in horror and shouted out. Instantly, everyone's gazes turned towards the sky. His gaze fell. They were shocked. Dark clouds covered the sun, and holy light and lightning tribulation flashed. Within the dark clouds, there seemed to be a lightning dragon circling around. What's going on? While the group of disciples were shocked, they were puzzled. A bunch of little brats. Hurry up and leave this place for this old man. When Elder Gu Yin saw that the group of disciples were still standing at the same spot, he immediately shouted out loudly. What are these brats still standing there for? Are they waiting for death? When they heard Elder Gu Yan's name, the group of disciples were stunned. However, they quickly reacted and hurriedly ran out of the scripture depository. Little brats, if you disturb our ancestral master's cultivation, you'll be in big trouble. Elder Gu Han glared at the disciples and said viciously, What? It's our ancestral master? The heavenly anomaly, the heavenly lightning tribulation, was caused by our ancestral master? In an instant, a group of disciples ran out of the scripture depository. Their expressions changed drastically, as if a storm was raging in their hearts. Ning Tian was their ancestral master, but that was only their ancestral master in terms of seniority. He was on par with them in terms of age and strength, but his cultivation could cause such a heavenly anomaly? F***CK. Don't say anything. Ancestral master is awesome. He's an eternal god. At this moment, the disciples finally understood how the saint and deity felt when their ancestral master broke their Taoist heart in the heavenly demon palace. Compared to their ancestral master, it was infuriating. They were at the same level of strength. If their ancestral master could cause a heavenly anomaly, they couldn't even cause a fart, let alone a heavenly anomaly. They were about to lose the confidence to cultivate, let alone the saint and deity who claimed to be geniuses. Boom. At this moment, on the 5th level, Ning Tian was wrapped in golden light. The heavenly light was flowing from his body. He was in a state of cultivation. Dense spirit qi broke out of his body. So powerful. I didn't expect our ancestral master's spirit qi to be so strong. Elder Gu Han and Elder Gu Yan's gazes were fixed on the 5th floor. If their spirit qi was like a meandering stream, then Ning Tian's spirit qi was like a vast ocean. I didn't expect our ancestral master to have a spirit qi. I'm so envious. Elder Gu Yin looked bitter and envious. The stronger the spirit qi, the better it was for one's cultivation. Spirit qi. Hearing Elder Gu Yan's words, the group of disciples had strange expressions. However, they didn't feel that surprised anymore. It was as if all the abnormal things that happened to their ancestral master had become normal. In their shock, they seemed to have become numb. Look, our ancestral master's spirit qi is soaring into the sky. At this moment, a loud shout was heard. Gu Han, Elder Gu Yin, and the others all looked toward the sky. They saw that the spirit qi, which had originally filled the 5th level, was actually soaring into the sky at this moment. Boom! The spirit qi rushed into the sky. It actually exploded with a strong suction force. Immediately after, the disciples and elders of the Tianma cult sensed that the spirit qi of the entire Tianma cult was being continuously absorbed by the spirit sea in the sky. What is our ancestral master doing? The spirit qi of the entire Tianma cult could be said to be very strong. Could it be that he wanted to use such a large amount of spirit qi to cultivate? Was he not afraid of bursting? How dare you? Who is it? Who dares to covet the spirit qi of the Tianma cult? At this moment, a thunderous shout resounded throughout the entire Tianma cult. In the depths of the Tianma cult's mountains, a demonic shadow soared into the sky. Demonic qi filled the sky, and white hair danced in the wind. It looked exceptionally ferocious. Looking at the white-haired demonic shadow in the sky, the pupils of many disciples and elders shrank. It's the Grand Supreme Elder. Wasn't the Grand Supreme Elder in seclusion? Why did he alarm the Grand Supreme Elder? The demonic shadow in the sky was the Tianma cult's Grand Supreme Elder. Seeing this, many elders hurried over, including Elder Gu Han and Elder Gu Yin. Greetings, Grand Supreme Elder. Greetings, Grand Supreme Elder. Dozens of figures landed beside the Grand Supreme Elder and greeted him respectfully. Grand Supreme Elder, weren't you in seclusion to break through? Now that you're here, could it be that you've successfully broken through? Elder Gu Han asked cautiously. Chapter 15. Hearing Elder Gu Han's words, the surrounding elders all had a look of joy on their faces. The Grand Supreme Elder was a peak celestial venerable. Wouldn't this breakthrough mean that he would reach the celestial emperor realm? Didn't that mean that their heavenly demon cult had another god emperor expert? Ha ha ha. Congratulations, Grand Supreme Elder. Congratulations, Grand Supreme Elder. With you and the Empress, two celestial emperors, who would dare to bully our Tianma cult? Congratulations, congratulations. In an instant, dozens of elders congratulated the Grand Supreme Elder excitedly. However, no one saw the Grand Supreme Elder's expression, which was as dark as ink. All they saw was him gnashing his teeth in anger. Break through my ass. I finally found the way to the Celestial Emperor realm, and just as I was about to try, the entire Tianma cult's spiritual energy was instantly swept away. How am I supposed to break through? The group of elders froze, then immediately shut their mouths. They naturally knew that all this was caused by Ning Tian. Heaven and earth anomaly, holy lightning tribulation, and it even sucked away the entire Tianma cult's spiritual energy. I'd like to see who has such a big appetite. The Grand Supreme Elder snorted heavily. He had finally found the way to the Celestial Emperor realm and had a chance to step into it. But because the spiritual energy was swept away, he failed before he even tried. The Grand Supreme Elder was so angry that he trembled all over. Calm down, Grand Supreme Elder. Please calm down. The one who caused this heaven and earth anomaly is our ancestral master. Seeing that the Grand Supreme Elder was going to make trouble for Ning Tian, the elders' expressions changed, and they hurriedly tried to dissuade him. Ancestral master? What ancestral master? The Grand Supreme Elder snorted coldly. I'm the Grand Supreme Elder. Do I need to call someone else ancestral master? Ridiculous. Please calm down, Grand Supreme Elder. Elder Gu Yin tried to dissuade him. The one who caused this heaven and earth anomaly and holy lightning tribulation is the Empress husband. Naturally, it's our ancestral master. What? That girl Luo Wuqing is married? Hearing this, the Grand Elder was shocked. He had only been in seclusion for a year, and the Empress had already become someone's wife? Who did she marry? Is it the great Emperor of the heavenly divine palace? Or the Holy Lord of the ethereal Holy Land? I remember that these great emperors have feelings for that girl. At this moment, the Supreme Elder could not help but be curious. This, isn't it? Elder Gu Yin and the other elders shook their heads. It's a disciple of our Tianma cult. What? How preposterous. What qualifications does a mere disciple have to take Luo Wuqing? Hearing this, the Supreme Elder flew into a rage. Was the Empress's marriage a joke? Instead of marrying a disciple, she might as well marry a martial emperor. At the very least, she would be able to establish a good relationship with him. He naturally has the qualifications. Right at this moment, a clear and pleasant voice resounded. Then, the pressure of the emperor realm descended from the sky. In an instant, the bodies of the various elders in the sky sank, and they were all pressed down to the ground by the pressure. Within the Tianma cult, countless disciples and elders knelt before her. Greetings, Empress. Greetings, Empress. Countless disciples and elders knelt and bowed. In the sky, Luo Wuqing was dressed in a long blue and white dress with a phoenix crown on her head. She had a graceful figure, and her beautiful face was filled with indifference. Behind her, the Grand Elder and the other elders followed. Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes looked at the hidden scriptures pavilion not far away, and her gaze fell on Ning Tian, who was shrouded in golden light. She could not help but be surprised. To cause such a big commotion, could it be that the heavenly divine constitution had been activated? Heartless girl, marriage is not a joke. Moreover, you are the Empress. The Supreme Elder's face was gloomy. He stood on the ground and looked at Luo Wuqing in the sky. Shut up. Supreme Elder, I don't need you to worry about my affairs. Luo Wuqing looked at the Supreme Elder indifferently. Also, I am now the Empress. Watch your words. The Supreme Elder's face instantly darkened. He gritted his teeth. Yes, Empress. All of a sudden, many elders and disciples around were secretly shocked. They did not expect that the Empress would not give the Supreme Elder any face for the sake of the ancestral master. Boom. At this moment, in the sky covered by dark clouds, a thunder dragon vaguely appeared. What kind of thunder tribulation is this? Thunder and lightning turned into a thunder dragon? Oh my God! What is the ancestral master doing? In an instant, the minds of many elders and disciples went blank. In the sky, one thunder dragon after another appeared. In the blink of an eye, there were hundreds of them. Boom! The thunder dragon let out a dragon's roar. Then, under the shocked gazes of tens of thousands of Tianma cult disciples, it rushed into Ning Tian's expanding spiritual sea. The thunder dragon condensed. As it passed through the spiritual sea, it was illuminated by the flickering golden light. In the blink of an eye, it turned into something familiar. That was spiritual meridians. Elder Gu Yin exclaimed in shock. Those thunder dragons passed through the spiritual sea and turned into spiritual meridians. F***A. The ancestral master. The ancestral master is actually using the heaven and earth anomaly to turn the holy light and thunder tribulation into his own spiritual meridians? In an instant, the entire Tianma cult was filled with gasps. Using the heaven and earth anomaly to develop spiritual meridians? Huh. Ancestral master. Oh, ancestral master. You are only developing spiritual meridians. You have actually alarmed tens of thousands of Tianma cult? Developing spiritual meridians? Using the holy light and thunder tribulation to develop spiritual meridians? The Supreme Elder was dumbfounded. He had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Since ancient times, he had never heard of anyone using the heaven and earth anomaly to develop spiritual meridians. In his impression, wasn't it normal to develop spiritual meridians? But why? In Ning Tian's hands, it became an earth-shattering event. Luo Wuqing was silent. Her beautiful eyes flashed with astonishment. She was silent for a while. You guys stay here and watch. Remember not to get close. I will go and protect him. After saying that, Luo Wuqing disappeared into thin air. When she reappeared, she was already at the place where the thunder tribulation had turned, using the thunder tribulation to develop spiritual meridians and the Empress to protect him. Hiss! The Grand Elder sucked in a breath of cold air. At this moment, he finally understood how qualified Ning Tian was. This kid will definitely become a great emperor. No. The Supreme Elder's eyes flashed as he murmured softly, even above the immortal state. Immortal state. Hearing the Supreme Elder's words, the surrounding elders gasped instantly. Their eyes were filled with shock. Immortal state. That was almost a legendary existence. They looked at the fifth floor of the Sutra Depository in awe. The figure shrouded in golden light might be a peerless expert in the future. At this moment, the Tianma cult's movements quietly spread throughout the entire celestial spirit region. Countless people looked up at the sky. In the direction of the Tianma cult, dark clouds covered the sun, and the thunder tribulation surged like a dragon. Chapter 16. Tianling Realm. Many powerhouses were looking up at the sky. Dark clouds covered the sun, and the sound of thunder could be heard faintly. It was as if a thunder dragon was moving in the clouds. And that direction was the Tianma cult. In an instant, many experts in the heavenly spirit region were shocked. Was this a lightning tribulation? Could it be that the empress of the Tianma cult was going through a lightning tribulation? Such a powerful lightning tribulation. Could it be that she had reached the immortal state? For a moment, many powerhouses in Tianling Realm were terrified. They were guessing what was going on, but they were undoubtedly in awe of the lightning tribulation. Dongxing Kingdom, Imperial Palace. Inside the palace, a middle-aged man in a dragon robe stood in front of the window. His eyes were solemn as he looked at the sky not far away. That was the area of influence of the Tianma cult. Dark clouds covered the sun, and the lightning tribulation surged. This made him frown. The Tianma cult is getting stronger and stronger now, he muttered and sighed. His eyes gradually moved away from the dark clouds in the sky. My lord. At this moment, a respectful voice was heard. An old man walked in slowly. This middle-aged man in a dragon robe was the lord of Dongxing Kingdom, Lin Ba. Elder Tian. Lin Ba nodded at the old man and then asked, "How is my son, Xiaoyao's condition? Difficult? Difficult?" Elder Tian put away the medical supplies and sighed as he shook his head. Prince Xiaoyao is not suffering from an illness. It's a psychological problem. Psychological problems are the most difficult to treat. Lin Ba was silent. His face was extremely gloomy. Since returning from the Tianma cult a few days ago, his most talented son had become like this. He had been beaten out of his wits and had fallen into decadence all day long. Even if he invited all the pharmacists in Dongxing Kingdom, they could not cure him. Looking at the once high-spirited Lin Xiaoyao, who had now become like this as a father, he was really distressed. Elder Tian, how can this psychological problem be cured? Lin Ba gritted his teeth and asked. Whoever started the trouble should end it. Naturally, the solution to the psychological problem should be the same. Elder Tian squinted his eyes. Lin Ba fell into silence. He naturally understood the meaning behind Elder Sky's words. But the other party was from the Tianma cult. Furthermore, he was the husband of the empress. How could he take revenge? Lin Ba clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. The Tianma cult was becoming more and more prosperous and powerful, and the Sky Demon cult was located in the Dongxing nation. He was also becoming more and more afraid that the Tianma cult would become too powerful and replace his position as the imperial family. There was a long silence. A glint flashed across Lin Ba's eyes. Heavenly Elder, please invite those from the Righteous Tao Alliance over. I have something to discuss with them. Hearing this, Elder Sky was stunned for a moment, and he couldn't help but be shocked. He naturally understood what the monarch was planning to do. My lord, that's the Tianma cult. Elder Sky couldn't help but feel a little worried. It's fine. Lin Ba waved his hand. He looked at Elder Heaven and sighed heavily. Elder Heaven, if the Tianma cult isn't eradicated, my heart won't be at ease. Xiaoyao's crippling made me even more determined. Elder Sky was silent for a moment. In the end, he nodded. I understand, my lord. With that, he turned and left. Sigh. Lin Ba sighed. He looked helplessly at the dark clouds and lightning tribulation in the direction of the Tianma cult. His eyes flashed with a hint of seriousness. Tianma cult? Oh, Tianma cult. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for getting stronger and stronger. And for crippling my son, I have to take revenge. At this moment, Along with the vision of heaven and earth from the Tiamat cult, this scene was witnessed by countless powerhouses in the celestial spirit realm. They all sighed. There was probably only one person in the Tiamat cult who could trigger such a lightning tribulation, and that was the Empress Luo Wuqing. Xiaoyao's sacred ground. Sacred leader Xiaoyao stood with his hands behind his back, looking in the direction of the Tiamat cult. His eyes were full of seriousness. Such a lightning tribulation. Oh, Luo Wuqing. Oh, Luo Wuqing. What are you doing? Supreme Divine Nation. The Divine Nation Lord's eyes were solemn. He was looking in the direction of the Tiamat cult, and in the celestial spirit realm, almost all the powerhouses were looking at the lightning tribulation from the Tiamat cult. They almost unanimously believed that it was the one who triggered the lightning tribulation. In the Tiamat cult, there was only one person, the Empress Luo Wuqing. I'm afraid these powerhouses would never have thought that the one who triggered the lightning tribulation was not Luo Wuqing. It was the Empress's husband, Ning Tian, who was only a black martial master, was using the lightning tribulation to open up the spirit vein. If they knew all this, what kind of expressions would these powerhouses of the celestial spirit realm have? Righteous Alliance. A group of sage-like elders were standing at the top of a mountain. Tiamat cult. The Righteous Alliance master looked at the layers of dark clouds and whispered softly with a somewhat serious expression. Alliance master, this lightning tribulation. Elder Jian Mei swallowed his saliva, fear flashing in his eyes. Could it be that the Empress has broken through to the immortal realm? Immortal realm. Elder Jian Mei's words instantly caused the surrounding elders' eyes to tremble, a trace of shock flashing in their eyes. This immortal realm. It can't be, right? Elder Jian Mei's expression was a little ugly. If the Empress had really broken through to the immortal realm, then in 6 months, it would not be a siege against the Tiamat cult, but a suicide mission. No, it can't be. At this moment, the only one who remained calm was the Righteous Alliance master. He narrowed his eyes and shook his head. Luo Wuqing did not become a divine guide. How could he break through to the immortal realm? A divine guide. I think you should all know how rare it is, right? The group of elders fell silent. Many Emperor Realm powerhouses did not even get a divine guide before their lives were exhausted, and in the end, they fell on the path to becoming a god. Even hundreds of years ago, the celestial spirit realm had a battle for the position of god. Many great emperors had died with hatred in their hearts. Then this lightning tribulation is, deep doubts flashed in the eyes of the elders. I don't know. The Righteous Alliance master shook his head, a hint of viciousness flashing in his eyes. But I do know that the Empress is a greater threat, and the Tiamat cult must be dealt with. Hearing his words, the group of elders nodded their heads heavily. Now, the Tiamat cult's threat was getting greater and greater. In particular, after today's lightning tribulation, it caused quite a commotion. It was enough to alarm the entire celestial spirit realm. Dark clouds covered the sky at the beginning of the lightning tribulation. Streaks of lightning dragons surged into the spirit sea and turned into spirit veins one after another. These lightning dragons surged, and even the air seemed to be shattered by the terrifying energy. At this moment, there were already dozens of spirit veins in Ning Tian's body. But the lightning tribulation continued. What a powerful lightning tribulation. Can it really turn into spirit veins in a cultivator's body? Looking at the terrifying divine might of the lightning dragons in the sky, the Tiamat cult elders couldn't help but tremble, and some doubts arose in their hearts. Chapter 17. The thunder tribulation was not something that ordinary people could withstand. I don't know. Maybe the ancestral master has his own way. Elder Guyan shook his head and looked at the sky in awe. After all, if the ancestral master can use the thunder tribulation to open up the spiritual meridians, what else can't he do? The group of elders was silent. That was right. It seemed that abnormal things became extremely normal when they happened to the ancestral master. It only took a few days. In their minds, Ning Tian changed from a piece of trash to an extremely mysterious ancestral master. The omnipotent ancestral master. Some of the disciples had even forgotten that Ning Tian's strength was only at the mystic martial master level. Let's see. With the Emperor's protection, it shouldn't take too long to open up the spiritual meridians. Yeah. In the Tiamat cult, everyone's eyes were on the 5th floor of the Sutra Depository. There was some anticipation in their eyes. The ancestral master used the thunder tribulation to open up the spiritual meridians. How many spiritual meridians could he open up? Boom, boom, boom. In the dark clouds, the thunder dragon kept roaring. Luo Wuqing stepped into the void and looked at the ferocious thunder tribulation in front of him with a calm expression. This guy can use the thunder tribulation as a way to open up the spiritual meridians. Is the celestial constitution so terrifying? She muttered to herself, seemingly thinking about something. In the Tianqian continent, there was the sacred body of the ancients and the sacred body of the divinity, but they were not as good as one kind of constitution. And that was the celestial constitution. Boom. There was an angry roar in the sky, and the thunder tribulation surged. It was almost time to end it. They saw. There was a flash of golden light on Ning Tian's body, like a horn to start a war. Boom. Above the dark clouds, dozens of lightning dragons were formed in an instant. The ferocious thunder dragons rushed into the spiritual sea. Dozens of them at once? Seeing this scene, the Grand Elder and the other elders sucked in a breath of cold air, a trace of shock flashing in their eyes. The energy of one thunder dragon was already very terrifying. Could the ancestral master's body really withstand dozens of thunder dragons? Hiss, what a big appetite. The Supreme Elder narrowed his eyes, and his heart was already in turmoil. Daring to risk it all. You have some of my demeanor back in the day. Patriarch, I admire you. The Grand Elder stroked his beard and laughed loudly. Hearing his words, the group of elders silently cursed in their hearts. Who was the one who said that the Patriarch was unworthy? This rotten old man was very bad. Dozens of lightning dragons poured into Ning Tian's spirit sea. In an instant, the lightning dragons began to absorb a large amount of spiritual qi and turned it into spiritual veins. 2 of them. In the blink of an eye, the numerous lightning dragons had absorbed a large amount of spiritual qi from the spirit sea and turned it into the spirit meridians in Ning Tian's body. But at this moment, something strange happened. Even after absorbing the entire Tianma cult's spiritual energy, it still wasn't enough for Lei Long to absorb and convert into a spiritual vein. It was just a blink of an eye. In the sky, the enormous spiritual sea was instantly sucked dry. His spiritual ocean level was directly consumed to the spiritual lake level. This thunder dragon actually needs to absorb so much spirit qi before it can transform into a spirit vein. The group of elders looked at the rapidly drying spirit sea and couldn't help but be shocked. They didn't expect that the thunder dragon would need to absorb so much spirit qi before it can transform into a spirit vein. Not good. Suddenly, Elder Gu Yan's eyes turned serious as he suddenly thought of something. If the thunder dragon doesn't have any more spirit qi to transform, I'm afraid it will directly enter the Patriarch's body. With this kind of lightning tribulation entering the body, I'm afraid it will directly cripple the Patriarch. The group of elders was stunned, and their faces changed. At this moment, in the sky, an emperor's aura exploded, and in an instant, an endless stream of Emperor God powerhouses' spiritual qi poured into the spirit sea. Looking at the sky, Luo Wuqing was continuously replenishing Ning Tian's spirit sea with spiritual qi. The group of elders couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the Empress was here. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Fortunately, the Empress is here to protect him. The group of elders only felt as if they were on a roller coaster, with ups and downs in their hearts. If the Patriarch's physique was crippled, they would probably vomit blood. Patriarch, old man, you can just focus on opening the spirit vein. Don't be so greedy. Old men like us don't have good hearts. The elders' mouths were filled with bitterness as they couldn't help but sigh. In the sky, Luo Wuqing raised his hand slightly, and a stream of Emperor God Powerhouse's spiritual chi poured into the spirit sea continuously. His spirit sea, which had been depleted, expanded once again. This guy, even if he has the physique of a heavenly god, opening the spirit vein shouldn't be able to use so much spiritual chi, right? Luo Wuqing frowned and looked indifferently at Ning Tian, who was sitting cross-legged on the 5th floor, with golden light shining all over his body. Boom! At this moment, Luo Wuqing suddenly felt a huge suction force erupting from the spirit sea. It was greedily absorbing the spiritual chi that he was sending out. Luo Wuqing was stunned, and a trace of shock flashed in his eyes as he glanced at Ning Tian. This guy, how dare he push his luck? This huge suction force was erupting from Ning Tian's body. At this moment, he was operating the heavenly god record with all his might, absorbing as much spiritual chi as possible. Interesting. Luo Wuqing's lips curled into a smile, and then the aura of an emperor god erupted. Boom! The airwaves instantly spread throughout the Tianma cult. Countless disciples and elders didn't even dare to breathe loudly under the pressure of the emperor realm. They looked at the beautiful figure in the sky in awe. The empress used all of her emperor realm strength? A trace of shock flashed in the supreme elder's eyes. Could it be that the patriarch needed the empress to use all of her spiritual chi to open the spirit vein? Hiss! After passing through the spirit sea, the lightning dragons turned into spirit veins one after another. The lightning tribulation lasted for more than an hour. During this period, a steady stream of lightning dragons turned into spirit veins and entered Ning Tian's body. Many disciples curiously counted the number of lightning dragons. After counting, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. A total of 199 spirit veins. A total of 199 spirit veins. This number was enough to make him a hero. Supreme Elder, how many spirit veins did you have when you condensed them? Elder Guyan looked at the Supreme Elder and couldn't help but ask. I was considered a genius back then, and I had a total of 80 spirit veins. The Supreme Elder snorted, his tone full of arrogance. 80 spirit veins. The disciples were shocked. 80 spirit veins was already a lot. However, compared to the patriarch, the gap was too big. Boom. At this moment, the lightning dragons in the sky disappeared, and the dark clouds dissipated, and the sun shone on the ground again. The holy light on Ning Tian's body dissipated. Everyone was delighted. Did the patriarch end the opening of the spirit veins? Chapter 18. Scripture Pavilion, 5th floor. The holy light on Ning Tian's body gradually dissipated, and the spirit sea in the sky returned to his body. The 199 Thunder Calamity spirit veins were operating in his body, providing powerful spiritual energy. Phew! Ning Tian slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His eyes were filled with excitement. Thunder Calamity spirit vein. He didn't expect that the heavenly god physique would open up a Thunder Calamity spirit vein. He got up. He patted the dust off his body. Ning Tian stretched lazily, with a satisfied look on his face, ready to leave the scripture pavilion. But at this moment, he suddenly felt countless gazes, as if they were looking at him. Ning Tian subconsciously looked over and saw that the scripture pavilion was in a mess. The roof of the entire 5th floor had disappeared, and many cultivation method scrolls were scattered on the ground. It was as if they had gone through a battle. As for the group of disciples and elders, they all looked at him with strange gazes. Oh my God! What happened here? Ning Tian was speechless and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. He looked around and found that Luo Wuqing was in the sky, fully releasing his Emperor Realm aura. Wife, are you guys acting in a battle? Ning Tian asked doubtfully. Because he had just opened up a spirit vein, he was completely focused and didn't know what was happening outside. Seeing the mess in Luo Wuqing's aura fully released, he couldn't help but wonder if this was a daily exercise of the Tianma cult. All the disciples, all the elders, after hearing Ning Tian's words, Everyone in the Tianma cult was speechless, and their hearts went crazy. Isn't this *King commotion caused by ancestral master? How did this become an act? In the sky, after hearing Ning Tian's words, Luo Wuqing helplessly held his forehead. Shaking his head, he fell from the sky, and a fragrant wind landed beside Ning Tian. Wife, you. Ning Tian looked at Luo Wuqing. Before he could finish his words, he saw Luo Wuqing walk over and lift up his shirt. Cough, cough. Ning Tian's face instantly turned red as he hurriedly said, Honey, isn't this a little inappropriate? There are so many disciples and elders watching. If you really want to do something, let's go back to the room and continue. The group of disciples and elders coughed dryly and hurriedly shifted their gazes to the side in a tacit manner. Shut up. Black lines appeared on Luo Wuqing's forehead when she heard that Ning Tian's words were getting more and more out of hand. She gritted her teeth and immediately berated him. Hearing this, Ning Tian immediately shut his mouth. Cough, cough. He still had to give face to his wife. After this guy quieted down, a wisp of spiritual energy appeared on Luo Wuqing's hand and began to float on Ning Tian's chest. That, honey, isn't this a little inappropriate? Feeling the cold touch on his body, Ning Tian couldn't bear it and felt uncomfortable all over. However, Luo Wuqing directly ignored his words. The spiritual energy kept floating on Ning Tian's chest. At this moment, Ning Tian's mouth actually made a strange sound of ecstasy. In an instant, his old face turned red. There was no other way. Who asked the Empress's wife to have cold and soft hands? He couldn't bear it. You? Hearing that sound, Luo Wuqing was stunned and her face instantly sank. This guy was actually enjoying it? It seems that I'm still too gentle with you. Luo Wuqing gritted her teeth and the spiritual energy in her hand suddenly shook. In an instant, several lightning marks vaguely appeared on Ning Mo's chest. Sure enough, Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes flashed with a touch of light, and the spiritual energy in her hand kept circulating. Even if it brought Ning Tian pain, she didn't care. Who asked this guy to be so shameless? *CK. Honey, be gentle. Pain. At this moment, Ning Tian felt that his chest was about to catch fire, and he didn't care whether this sentence had any meaning or not. As soon as the voice fell, Luo Wuqing used even more force. Next, screams kept floating from the 5th floor. Honey, you wait, something's wrong. *C. Honey, be gentle. In the surroundings, the disciples of Tianma cult and a group of elders heard this sound. They didn't dare to look directly at it and quickly looked away. They couldn't help but be shocked. The Empress was actually so bold and unrestrained? The Patriarch said that he couldn't stand it. The group of disciples was scared. The Empress was so scary. On the 5th floor, Luo Wuqing gritted her teeth. This bastard. He's simply too much of a bastard. This scream made others think that she did something to Ning Tian. The spiritual energy in Luo Wuqing's hand dissipated, and she glared fiercely at Ning Tian. There's a hidden danger left by the lightning tribulation in your body. I've already removed it for you. Okay, put on your clothes and get out of here. Hidden danger of the lightning tribulation? Ning Tian was stunned. It turned out that the reason why Luo Wuqing treated him like that was to help him remove the hidden danger of the lightning tribulation in his body. Honey, I'm so touched. Don't worry, I'll definitely reward you tonight, Ning Tian didn't finish his words. Luo Wuqing directly blasted out her palm, and the spiritual energy exploded. In an instant, Ning Tian turned into a meteor and disappeared in front of the Tianma cult people. Seeing this scene, the Tianma cult people twitched the corners of their mouths. The Patriarch was sent flying by the Empress. Elder Gu Yin looked worriedly in the direction where Ning Tian disappeared and couldn't help but ask, Empress, will the Patriarch be okay? He won't. Luo Wuqing shook her head. She didn't even use 10% of her strength. Ning Tian wouldn't die. Immediately, she looked at the Tianma cult people and said lightly, what happened today is strictly prohibited from spreading. Those who do will be killed without mercy. Understand? Her voice fell. The aura of the Emperor realm continued to circulate. Countless people felt the strong killing intent, and their faces changed slightly. Understood. Empress, we understand. The group of disciples and elders trembled. After swallowing their saliva, they nodded heavily. Behind the Tiamat cult mountain, a meteor flew across the sky and then fell accurately into a pool of spiritual energy. Splash. The sound of water splashing. Then, a wretched figure emerged from the celestial pool. Luo Wuqing, how dare you send me flying? See if I don't stars you. When I'm stronger, I'll definitely hold you down and spank your little butt. Ning Tian emerged from the water, cursing. Being sent flying in front of so many people made him lose a lot of face. At this moment, an embarrassed and angry voice sounded. There's a pervert. In front of Ning Tian, in the celestial pool, there were several female disciples in chiffon bathing here, and he just so happened to descend from the sky and landed right in front of them. It was such a coincidence. Ning Tian hurriedly explained when she saw the blushing female disciples trying to protect their bodies. No, listen to me, the patriarch isn't that kind of person. It's over. His upright patriarch image was going to be ruined. Chapter 19. However, how could these female disciples listen to him? They all blushed and screamed. Ning Tian was at a loss. He also understood that it was useless to say anything now. He could only wait for these female disciples to calm down before he could explain. After a while, the female disciples' faces were red. When they saw that it was Ning Tian, they reacted. Ancestral Master, why is it you? The female disciples thought that it was some pervert. They didn't expect it to be their ancestral master. Ancestral Master, you, how can you do this? If you really want to see, we can take our time. There's no need to peek. The female disciples glanced at Ning Tian and were instantly attracted by the divine charm physique. They kept throwing flirtatious glances at him. Even, intentionally or unintentionally, she pulled down the veil a little, revealing the infinite scenery. No need. Ning Tian swallowed his saliva, hurriedly waved his hand, and then fled. With Ning Tian's departure, the female disciples instantly came back to their senses. A hint of confusion flashed across their eyes. The girl who pulled down the veil instantly pulled her clothes back. Her face was flushed red. Oh my God. Little Ya, what did you just do? I don't know. You little girl. You must have seen how handsome your ancestral master is, and your heart is budding. Ha ha ha. You. The girl named Little Ya's face instantly turned red. Ning Tian naturally couldn't hear the girl's playful voices. At this moment, he was looking for a way back. Luo Wuqing, this woman. Where exactly did she send me flying? Ning Tian muttered. This seemed to be the back mountain of the Tianma cult. He had never been here before. This back mountain of the Tianma cult was filled with towering ancient trees. However, it had to be said that it gave people a somewhat strange feeling. Some incomplete formations were still scattered everywhere, as if a great battle had happened before. Just as he was muttering, suddenly, a cold and pleasant voice sounded beside him. What? Do you still want to experience the feeling of being sent flying? As soon as she finished speaking, a fragrant wind blew and Luo Wuqing emerged from the void. Seeing Luo Wuqing suddenly appear, Ning Tian couldn't help but be surprised. This woman was really elusive. Is it nice to see disciples bathing? Suddenly, Luo Wuqing said, Okay, it's not nice. Ning Tian wanted to answer subconsciously, but he immediately reacted and laughed awkwardly. Cold sweat trickled down his back. The scene of him falling into the spiritual energy immortal pond must have been seen by Luo Wuqing. Fortunately, he didn't do anything with those female disciples. Otherwise, his happiness for the rest of his life would be gone. Humph! Luo Wuqing snorted and glanced at Ning Tian. Come with me. With that, she turned around. With graceful steps, she walked toward the depths of the Tianma cult's back mountain. Although Ning Tian didn't know what she was going to do, he still followed her obediently. After passing through an ancient forest, Ning Tian soon saw a closed stone door. This was the Tianma cult's forbidden area, full of gloomy atmosphere. Wife, why did you bring me here? Ning Tian frowned slightly and couldn't help but ask. However, Luo Wuqing was silent. She walked to the front of the stone door. Her hand flashed with spiritual power and slightly formed a seal. Then, the heavy stone door made a muffled sound and slowly opened. Come in with me, Luo Wuqing said faintly and walked inside. Ning Tian curiously followed behind her. As the two stepped into the stone door, with a bang, the stone door was tightly closed again. As soon as they stepped in, the originally dark stone cave was instantly brightly lit. Ning Tian looked inside the stone cave. On the walls on both sides, clusters of green fire appeared, and at the front of the stone cave, there was a huge stone statue. The stone statue seemed to be in the shape of a human, and it was completely black. Vaguely, it emitted a gloomy and strange atmosphere. Where is this? Ning Tian looked at Luo Wuqing. Tianma Cave, Luo Wuqing said as she walked toward the stone statue. This is the Tianma cult's forbidden area. The memorial tablets of all the previous cult masters are here. Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned and looked behind the stone statue. Sure enough, he saw a spiritual platform with 7 memorial tablets placed on it. These were all the previous 7 cult masters of the Tianma cult. Tianma Cave? Ning Tian frowned and looked at Luo Wuqing in confusion. Then why did you bring me here? Luo Wuqing didn't say anything, but her beautiful eyes flashed. She brought Ning Tian here to obtain the Tianma Codex and the Guide to Godhood. Ning Tian had just activated the Tianxin physique. This time, she would be able to get the Tianma Codex, right? Come with me. Luo Wuqing pulled Ning Tian and led him to the front of the huge stone statue. I need you to do something for me. Her beautiful watery eyes stared at Ning Tian. What is it? Let me borrow a drop of your blood essence and drip it on this stone statue. Blood essence? Hearing Luo Wuqing's words, Ning Tian couldn't help but be a little cautious. Blood essence represented the purest energy of a cultivator. Things like dripping blood to recognize a master required blood essence. Therefore, when he heard the words blood essence, even if the other party was Luo Wuqing, he became cautious at this moment. Luo Wuqing didn't seem to expect Ning Tian to be so cautious. She couldn't help but narrow her eyes. It seemed that this guy was very shrewd. Don't worry, Luo Wuqing said slowly and looked at Ning Tian indifferently. I won't harm you. If I wanted to harm you, do you think you can still live until now? Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned. Indeed, if Luo Wuqing wanted to kill him, he would have died long ago. Facing an Emperor God powerhouse, even if he had the system, he wouldn't be able to survive. Because, in terms of strength, even the system couldn't make up for it. After a moment of silence, Ning Tian nodded. Immediately, he took a step forward and walked to the front of the stone statue. He raised a hand slightly, and then his spirit chi turned into a needle and pierced his finger. A drop of dark red blood essence condensed on his finger. Then, it fell on the stone statue. After a moment of silence, suddenly, a burst of powerful energy erupted from the stone statue. Monstrous demonic aura soared to the sky. Boom, boom. Suddenly, a strange phenomenon appeared. Around them, on the stone walls on both sides, green flames flickered and became brighter and dimmer. Inside the stone cave, a strange aura circulated. Facing this strange phenomenon, Ning Imo quietly circulated his spirit chi. He couldn't help but feel puzzled. What happened so suddenly? Suddenly, a cloud of black demonic aura rushed out from the stone wall. Then, a loud laugh sounded. Ha ha, my heavenly demon has finally awakened. Chapter 20. Boom. Demonic chi filled the air as a black demonic shadow emerged from the stone statue. The strange laughter was coming from the demonic shadow. Haha, My heavenly demon has finally awakened. The demonic shadow laughed loudly, sounding very excited. Heavenly demon? Upon hearing the voice, Luo Wuqing frowned slightly and looked coldly at the demonic shadow. You are the first leader of the Tianma cult? The first leader of the Tianma cult? Ning Tian was stunned and looked at the spirit tablet on the altar behind the stone statue. Sure enough, he saw the name engraved on the first spirit tablet from left to right. The first leader of the Tianma cult, the heavenly demon. This guy was actually the founder of the Tianma cult. How many years had it been? Ning Tian was shocked. It had been at least several thousand years. This old guy was actually still alive? What an old monster. Haha. The heavenly demon's eyes fell on Ning Tian, and a glint flashed in his eyes. It really is the Tianshan constitution. I've waited for tens of thousands of years, and finally, a descendant of the Tianma cult has brought me a person with the Tianshan constitution. Tens of thousands of years? It seemed that thousands of years were too little. What do you mean by that? Luo Wuqing's cold eyes fell on the heavenly demon. At this moment, she suddenly realized that something was wrong. Little girl, don't you understand that the rumor of the Tianma cult's guide to God was just made up by me? Ha ha ha. If I didn't do that, how could I have made you juniors of the Tianma cult willingly search for a person with the Tianshan constitution for me to possess? However, the previous leaders were all good-for-nothings. Not a single one of them found a person with the Tianshan constitution. Saying this, the heavenly demon looked at Ning Tian and licked his lips ferociously. A glint flashed in his eyes. But fortunately, you found one. Who would have thought that the ancestral teachings of the Tianma cult, which had been passed down from generation to generation, that anyone who found the heavenly god's physique would be able to obtain the heavenly demon tome, was actually a random fabrication by the heavenly demons. The purpose was to help him seize the body and revive. Are you looking for death? Even in the face of the founder of the Tianma cult, Luo Wuqing showed no mercy. His voice was as cold as ice. Then, the aura of the Emperor realm erupted. He instantly closed in on the Sky Fiend. Boom. In an instant, the demonic shadow collapsed. What a powerful Emperor realm cultivation. Ning Tian was secretly shocked. Luo Wuqing's Emperor realm aura was still very strong. The demonic shadow instantly dissipated, but it quickly gathered again. Ga, little girl, even if you are an Emperor God expert, you can't do anything to me. The heavenly demon let out a strange laugh, and the demonic shadow on its body began to move. Inside the cave, gales continued to blow, and waves of devil chi continued to attack Luo Wuqing. Humph! Luo Wuqing snorted coldly, and with a flip of his hand, spiritual energy instantly surged on his jade-like palm. A pitch-black demonic palm instantly blasted out. This was the heavenly demon palm. Seeing Luo Wuqing use this move, Ning Tian's eyes widened. Compared to the heavenly demon palm that he used, Luo Wuqing's move was definitely filled with explosive power. TSK, TSK, TSK. As expected of the strength of the Emperor God realm, the gap was actually so big. Ga, heavenly demon palm? The heavenly demon smiled coldly, little girl. I am more proficient in this move than you. Do you really think that I will be afraid of you? However, I am now in a soul state, so I won't be stupid enough to fight you head-on. Hearing his words, Ning Tian couldn't help but curl his lips. A second ago, this heavenly demon said that he wasn't afraid, but the next second, he was still afraid. When Luo Wuqing's monstrous spiritual energy gathered and blasted towards the heavenly demon, he suddenly moved and rushed towards Ning Tian. Ga, my target is him. As soon as his voice fell, the devil chi on the heavenly demon's body surged. Thinking that the plan that he had been planning for 10,000 years was about to be realized, the heavenly demon was extremely excited. Tens of thousands of years ago, he had fallen on the path to becoming a god. The unwillingness in his heart had turned into a demonic shadow and drilled into the stone statue. He had even issued an ancestral teaching that those who obtained the physique of a god would obtain the god's guide. However, Little did he know that all of this was the heavenly demon's scheme. He believed that as long as he possessed the physique of a god, even if he didn't become a god's guide, he would still be able to step into the divine realm. Ha ha ha. 10,000 years, tens of thousands of years. In the end, I still managed to wait for it. Divine realm? I'm here. Ha ha ha. The heavenly demon laughed loudly and instantly turned into a black shadow, rushing towards Ning Tian. Seeing the heavenly demon rushing towards him, Ning Tian didn't panic as much as he had imagined. The corner of his mouth revealed a smile, and he actually removed all of his spiritual energy defenses. "Wanna possess me? Then come at me." It was as if he was welcoming the heavenly demon into his body. In an instant, the heavenly demon rushed into the defenseless Ning Tian's body. Not good. Seeing this scene, Luo Wuqing frowned coldly and slapped towards Ning Tian, wanting to force the heavenly demon out of his body. "Ga, once you enter, how can you come out?" The heavenly demon's sneer came from Ning Tian's body. In an instant, a black light barrier enveloped Ning Tian. Bang! Luo Wuqing's attack was instantly blocked. After the heavenly demon rushed into Ning Tian's body, Ning Tian's consciousness instantly stagnated. Although the heavenly demon was only a soul, its strength was still at the divine emperor realm. Inside Ning Tian's body, the heavenly demon turned into a black soul aura and revealed a sinister smile. Is this the body of a celestial physique? It's simply amazing, Gigi. The thought of possessing Ning Tian's body, the heavenly demon couldn't help but feel excited. This was the celestial physique, sacred body of the ancients, divine body of the heavenly palace, and other outstanding physiques were nothing in front of it. Gia. Heaven rewards those who persevere. After waiting for tens of thousands of years, I finally succeeded. The heavenly demon was excited. At this moment, it was at Ning Tian's Dantian. The Dantian was the place where a cultivator stored their spiritual energy. It looked around and saw the spiritual energy that was as dense as the sea. A flash of excitement instantly flashed in its eyes. It's the spiritual sea. This kid is really an excellent cultivation genius. Heaven is not giving up on me. Suddenly, it seemed to have heard a roar of thunder. Thunder? The heavenly demon was stunned and frowned slightly. Then, it suddenly raised its head. The moment it raised its head, its expression changed drastically. It saw above the spiritual sea. 199 lightning tribulation spirit veins had transformed into 199 lightning dragons, glaring at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. As a soul, it was most afraid of thunder calamity. The lightning tribulation was capable of causing the soul to truly dissipate. These are thunder dragons? No. The heavenly demon gritted its teeth and a flash of horror flashed in its eyes. No. These are this kid's spiritual veins? The heavenly demon's heart had already been set off by a storm. It had never seen a cultivator's spiritual veins transformed by thunder calamity dragons. No, I can't stay in this kid's body. The heavenly demon wanted to retreat and wanted to rush out of Ning Tian's body. But at this moment, the spiritual sea surged and the 199 thunder dragons attacked, instantly blocking all its escape routes. Then, a consciousness voice sounded. "Old man, it won't be so easy to get out now that you're in. Wanna possess me? I think you might as well become the energy for me to cultivate the celestial god record." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.